Chapter 2469. Senior isn't afraid. Bang. In the next moment, Lin Ling's arm spun, and the ancient sword's blade was withdrawn. The body of the sword transformed into a door that fiercely whipped towards Duanling Tian, causing Duanling Tian's pupils to squint. Why is this Lin Ling's ability like a storm? At this moment of desperation, he exploded out with a formidable martial technique. Torrent critical strike. A terrifying roar sounded out from behind him, and his boundary essence transformed into a torrent that wanted to destroy everything. Unfortunately, it was useless. Swoosh! A sword strike slashed through everything. Bang! After the torrent was slashed apart, the enormous body of the sword smashed onto Duanling Tian's body, causing him to spit out blood and be blasted flying. Bang! After smashing onto the ground, he instantly lost the ability to fight, and his face was filled with terror. Never had he imagined that Lin Ling's strength would be so formidable. 3 moves have ended. Bang! Lin Ling instead held his sword as he moved forward, and there wasn't a trace of complacency on his face. Because defeating Duanling Tian was something he really didn't feel there was anything to be proud of. Bang! When he arrived before Duanling Tian, a large sword fiercely stabbed down. Moreover, it stabbed between Duanling Tian's legs, and it was just a little bit away from the vital part. I don't care what kind of second-generation rich kid you are, nor do I care what bullshit genius you are from the 8 Division's army. Now you only have one choice: apologize to my woman. Lin Ling looked down at Duanling Tian, who was beneath his feet, as he spoke indifferently. I haven't lost, how can I apologize? Duanling Tian instantly roared in rage. Today, he represented Ho Xiaoyan's man, and also represented their army, but in the end, he was utterly defeated, and this was something he couldn't swallow. As expected of someone from the army, you have backbone. But I like it very much, so I'll sever that part. The corners of Lin Ling's mouth curled into an evil smile, and the sword in his hand moved forward slightly, getting closer to Duanling Tian's vital part. That coldness directly caused Duanling Tian's entire body to tremble. If that part was severed, wouldn't he be unable to do that kind of thing in the future? How would he face others in the future? Wait! Duanling Tian shouted loudly in terror, and his voice sounded as if he was rushing to be reincarnated. Too late. However, Lin Ling responded with a cold smile and drew out his sword. No! Duanling Tian cried out in pain as tears streamed down his face. Moreover, the smell of urine wafted out as well. He was so frightened that he fainted. The number 1 genius of the 8 Battalion? Lin Ling stared blankly for a moment, then laughed mockingly. He didn't slash down, but withdrew his sword. In fact, he was only trying to scare Duanling Tian. Who knew Duanling Tian would be so weak? I feel ashamed to have you as my opponent. After that, Lin Ling turned around and walked towards Xianyuangu. The surroundings were in a state of silence, and no one could believe their own eyes. A last generation ranked 3rd was defeated just like that. He was so scared that he wet his pants. This was too inconceivable. He's so strong. So he's Xianyuangu's man. He's really powerful. I'm so envious of Xianyuangu. I think that young man's strength can be ranked among the 3rd generation. Ho Xiaoyan is actually comparing men with Xianyuangu. She's just asking to be humiliated. The scene before their eyes was too shocking for the last generation. Therefore, they were all in awe. Some of the women's eyes were filled with longing, and some of them were even bold enough to secretly flirt with Lin Ling. Naturally, all of them were ignored by Lin Ling. With Xianyuangu around, he did not dare to act recklessly. Otherwise, this little devil would definitely chop him into pieces. Lin Ling. As for Xianyuangu, she looked at Lin Ling excitedly. Although she was not a vain woman, this was the happiest moment for a woman. She believed that not many women would dislike those admiring gazes. Therefore, she was very proud. Most importantly, Ho Xiaoyan had angered her earlier. Now, she wanted to see what Ho Xiaoyan had to say. Naturally, Ho Xiaoyan had nothing to say. Lin Ling, how dare you? Who allowed you to cause trouble in the last generation's assessment? However, right at this moment, an untimely voice suddenly resounded, and then a middle-aged man walked over furiously. Surprisingly, it was Senior Zhang Wen. Because he was the one who presided over the test today, so he'd witnessed all of this as well. Seeing this, everyone immediately bowed and began to worry about Lin Ling. Ho Xiaoyan seemed to have found a life-saving straw. She hurried to Senior Zhang Wen's side and exaggerated Lin Ling's faults. Bullying some newcomers is nothing. Lin Ling, it seems like you're just a so-so. Beside Senior Zhang Wen was a young man. He wore a red robe and he was also staring at Lin Ling with a face full of resentment. The third generation. The red robe represented the identity of the third generation. This person seemed to be extremely resentful towards Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling had seen him before. He was Qian Chen, who had been driven out of the Dandelion Palace not long ago. What else do you have to say now? After Zhang Wen heard Ho Xiaoyan's story, he immediately pointed at Lin Ling and scolded him. He was very unhappy when he saw this guy because he still owed money to Qing Zhou Fu Xing. All of this was caused by Lin Ling. He had been trying to find a way to get at Lin Ling's weakness. He did not expect Lin Ling to take the initiative to come to him. What else is there to say? Lin Ling stared at Zhang Wen. He was also unhappy with the latter. Not long ago, the incident at his market was caused by the latter. Therefore, he pointed at his mouth and said, "It's none of your business." As soon as he said this, there was an uproar. Zhang Wen was the host of this assessment. Everyone thought that since he was here, Lin Ling would definitely be submissive. However, who knew that Lin Ling was not even afraid of a senior? He simply said, "It's none of your business." His attitude could be described as fearless. This guy. Ho Xiaoyan was stunned on the spot. The men of the Xian Yuan Gu are so bold. She instantly compared Duan Ling Tian to Lin Ling and instantly noticed that one was from the latrine, and the other was the chosen child of the heavens. Zhang Wen naturally never imagined that Lin Ling would be so arrogant. You what? Are you mute? As a senior, you can't speak clearly. How will you teach a junior? Could it be that when you were born, your mother fed you milk, and you didn't drink it, so your mother slapped you to the point you stuttered? Lin Ling spoke successively. Zhang Wen never imagined that the disciple he tested in the past would reach the extent of pointing at his nose and scolding him. For a time, he was speechless. The hearts of the surrounding spectators rumbled. The men of the Xian Yuan Gu are really daring. After all, they'd already seen a snobbish man like Zhang Wen during the assessment, and he made it difficult for them. Unfortunately, the latter was a senior, so they couldn't speak of their suffering. Now, when they saw Lin Ling scolding him without restraint, they felt carefree in their hearts. Lin Ling, is this how you treat a senior of the academy? Qian Chen never imagined that Lin Ling would be so arrogant as well. You seem to be a third-generation junior, right? What do you mean by walking together with this Zhang Wen? Could it be that there's some sort of relationship between the two of you that can't be explained clearly? But Lin Ling sneered once more, and his words carried ridicule. Chapter 2470. Go eat shit. You're courting death. What do I have to do with him? Bullshit. What do we have to do with each other? Zhang Wen and Qian Chen cursed at the same time, especially Qian Chen. He was driven away by Lin Ling, and now he was being scolded by Lin Ling. He couldn't take this lying down. Lin Ling, I want to challenge you. 3 moves, 5 moves, it doesn't matter. I'll make you regret coming to Resplendent Academy. Qian Chen's eyes turned red when he thought of this. He roared as though he had lost his mind. Flames shot up into the sky from his body. His powerful strength proved that he was a genuine third generation. Moreover, his strength was not weak among the third generation. What a powerful strength! That young man is in trouble. This young man is really fearless. He defeated Duanling Tian and now he's offended the third generation. This is going to be a little troublesome. Although the academy doesn't allow death battles, the academy won't care about teaching someone a lesson. The people in the surroundings broke out in cold sweat for Lin Ling. They knew Lin Ling was this year's last generation. However, how could the last generation be a match for the third generation? Xian Yuangur, quickly ask your man to leave. Someone said to Xian Yuangur. However, when he looked at Xian Yuangur, he was shocked to see Xian Yuangur and the others were calm as though they were not worried at all. I've been waiting for you to say this for a long time. Lin Ling took the initiative to speak. He took a step forward and shot toward Qian Chen. If the old man had not chased Qian Chen away in Dandelion Main Hall, Lin Ling would have taught him a lesson. Evil flame change. Lin Ling shouted out in his heart. With his current strength, he could already erupt with the power of an 8th-level World King's World Essence. In addition to evil flame change, his power of World Essence could reach the 9th level of the World King realm. No matter what kind of genius Qian Chen was, he would be crippled when he met Lin Ling. At this moment, Qian Chen's heart trembled when he saw Lin Ling pouncing toward him. An illusion appeared in his mind. Lin Ling was not afraid of him at all. Instead, he was waiting for him to speak before challenging him. This must be an illusion. A last generation challenging a third generation. Even Zhang Wen's eyes narrowed. He knew that Lin Ling had defeated Qian Chen. However, Qian Chen was obviously stronger. Did Lin Ling still want to defeat Qian Chen? Dream. This must be a dream. Phaseless fire. The attack was already in sight, and Qian Chen also erupted with a powerful strength. The two great flames collided violently. One was golden while the other was multicolored. The powerful shockwave directly flipped many people over. Everyone's jaws dropped. They weren't surprised that Qian Chen was strong, but Xian Yuangu's man was also so strong. He was actually on par with Qian Chen. Qian Chen's surprised voice drifted out from the collision of the flames. It's too late to know now. Eat shit. Lin Ling's voice drifted out. His hand reached out from the flames. He was not afraid of Qian Chen's flames at all. He grabbed his neck and smashed him to the ground. This smash was simple and direct. It was simple and violent. Boom. At the same time, a flame burst out like a volcano erupting. Then, from the colorful flames, a slender figure slowly walked out. It was as if time had stopped. When the flames gradually disappeared, people saw a deep hole in the ground. Qian Chen, who was wearing a red robe, had been smashed unconscious. One move. The third generation was also smashed to the ground. This Lin Ling was a freak. Swoosh. 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 The sound of people sucking in cold air was like a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. Ho Xiaoyan's face was pale, and she was so scared that she fell to the ground. Compared to Lin Ling, her man was hundreds of times weaker. Of course, the most surprised person was Zhang Wen. He knew that Qian Chen was ranked in the top 20 among the third generation. He also had an awakened divine body from the Grand Court Commandery. However, such a genius was still defeated. Could it be that Lin Ling had no limits? Could it be that Lin Ling had held back when he defeated the 36 world kings? Of course, after being surprised, Zhang Wen roared angrily, very well. It was just a spar, but you hurt someone. Today, I will punish you on behalf of the Resplendent Academy. He sensed that Lin Ling's growth was too fast. After all, he had personally presided over the assessment not long ago. Lin Ling had killed his way into the third generation and his strength was ranked high. Therefore, he could not let Lin Ling rise again. Otherwise, he would not have the chance to kill Lin Ling. Although Lin Ling was monstrous, it was not difficult for him to kill Lin Ling. Senior Zhang Wen, I advise you to think about the pros and cons before you attack me. Otherwise, you will regret it. Facing Zhang Wen's murderous intent, Lin Ling's face was extremely calm. Just you? What a joke. Zhang Wen sneered. He did not believe Lin Ling's words at all. Whoosh! At this time, Lin Ling threw out a jade pendant. Zhang Wen immediately caught it with one hand. Without looking at it, a powerful force burst out and broke the jade pendant. Is this your last move before you die? Zhang Wen said with a ferocious expression. He threw away the broken jade pendant. Lin Ling could not help but be astonished. You destroyed the jade pendant? Do you think it's a powerful weapon? Let me tell you, even if you have a celestial artifact, I can still destroy it. Zhang Wen shouted coldly. Without hesitation, he grabbed at Lin Ling with his big hand. He wanted to kill Lin Ling with this grab. His face was filled with a maniacal smile. Lin Ling, you made me lose so much money. Today, I will take it back with interest. You should regret messing with me. However, Lin Ling did not do anything in the face of Zhang Wen's attack. Instead, he stopped Queen Qianji from helping him. He did not believe that Zhang Wen would dare to attack him in the Resplendent Academy. Zhang Wen was a second-generation genius in the past, meaning that he was an old genius while Lin Ling was a rising genius. Who was more important? He believed that Resplendent Academy would make the right choice. Therefore, he wanted to take a gamble and see if the people in the Resplendent Academy were all old fools. After all, he was in the right today. Apparently, he had made the right bet. Lin Ling, the higher-ups of the Academy have informed you to prepare for the battle in the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. You are not allowed to refuse. At this moment, a majestic voice was heard. In the next moment, a sword appeared in front of Lin Ling. It was a sword that seemed to have an ancient history. The sword was pointed at Zhang Wen. If Zhang Wen continued to attack, this sword would take his life. The higher-ups of the Academy have already paid attention to Lin Ling. Zhang Wen, try moving again. A cold voice was heard at the same time. Zhang Wen immediately stopped moving. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. When he looked up, he saw that it was the first-generation Senior Dandelion. This female swordsman was the most ruthless. If he moved again, she might really kill him. Senior Dandelion, what happened? Zhang Wen asked nervously. Lin Ling has created the first record in the Sword Principal Department. The Academy believes that he should participate in the battle in the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. Therefore, during this period, no one is allowed to disturb him. Senior Dandelion said coldly. The first record. Chapter 2471. The Academy's arrangements. Moreover, he has a second-generation potential token, which means that he's an extremely precious genius among the third generation. Don't you know that? Senior Dandelion added. I really don't know. He didn't tell me. Zhang Wen almost knelt down and kowtowed. He felt wronged. Hearing this, Senior Dandelion looked at Lin Ling with a questioning gaze. He's very powerful. He broke the jade token I gave him and told me proudly that the token was weak. However, I also feel that the Resplendent Academy is one of the three great academies. How can the token that represents one's identity be broken so easily? Lin Ling smiled. Zhang Wen's heart rumbled when he heard this. He carefully turned his head and realized that the token Lin Ling threw to him had been broken in half. Previously, he thought that the jade pendant was Lin Ling's dying attack on him. Plop. In the next moment, he knelt down with a pale face. There was only pain and regret in his heart. In fact, he had already given Lin Ling a very high evaluation. He had gotten first place in both exams and was the last generation candidate. Lin Ling's strength was enough to fight against the third generation. He could be said to be the fastest genius in the history of the Resplendent Academy. But who would have thought that his evaluation was still too low? Lin Ling had actually broken the first-place record of the Sword Dao department. This caused him to not even look at the Jade token. It seems that Lin Ling has already announced the Jade token. Zhang Wen, it's your fault for not looking at the Jade token. Now that you've destroyed it, what kind of punishment do you want? Do you want an arm broken? Or a fine? Senior Dandelion frowned and said. Zhang Wen had attacked Lin Ling. She could let him off because he didn't know, but he had dared to destroy the second-generation potential token. How bold! Fine again. Zhang Wen felt dizzy and almost fainted. However, when Senior Dandelion raised her sword, he instantly sobered up. I'm willing to pay the fine. After saying this, his heart was bleeding. Because the money he owed Fu Xing Manor had not been paid off yet, and now, he was going to owe another huge sum of money. Alright, 10 million deity crystals. Especially after Senior Dandelion's next sentence, Zhang Wen fainted. When they saw Senior Zhang Wen fainting, Qian Chen being defeated, and Duanling Tian being scared to the point he pissed his pants, the surrounding people were shocked to the extreme. They never imagined that even Senior Zhang Wen would be killed by Lin Ling. Although they knew the Azure Prefecture was filled with geniuses, and there were countless people who could repeatedly create miracles, these were only rumors. Only by witnessing it with their own eyes would they know how shocking it was. And now, such a miracle creator had appeared beside them, and it was only the last generation of this generation. Lin Ling, let's go. Senior Dandelion looked at Lin Ling and said indifferently. Lin Ling nodded and left with Xian Yuangu, and the others. Xian Yuangu's men are more powerful than we thought. Did you hear that? That senior seems to have said that he created the first record in the Kendo department. Tisk tsk. Even the third generation couldn't create those records, but he succeeded. It seems like he's the most arrogant person among the last generation. Everyone exclaimed in surprise as they looked at Xian Yuangu with even more envy. Xian Yuangu naturally, noticed the gazes behind her. She puffed out her chest and walked forward proudly. This moment belonged to Lin Ling, and naturally, it also belonged to her. As for Lin Ling, before he left, he looked at Ho Xiaoyan coldly, causing her to tremble and her face to turn pale. Lin Ling was telling her that Xian Yuangu was not to be bullied by anyone. Since it was her first offense, he would spare her life today. However, there would be no next time. Plop. Ho Xiaoyan was so frightened that she fell to the ground and remained silent for a long time. At this moment, Lin Ling left with Senior Dandelion. Your strength isn't the strongest in the Resplendent Academy, but your cultivation speed is the fastest in the history of the Resplendent Academy. Now, the higher-ups of the Resplendent Academy are paying attention to you. I hope you can maintain this speed and reach new heights. Senior Dandelion smiled at Lin Ling. Her smile was very beautiful and had a unique style. After all, she was a woman as cold as a sword. Her smile was very rare, but it was also very heartwarming. If Jianba and the others were here, they would definitely gnash their teeth in jealousy because they had known Senior Dandelion for many years, but she had never smiled at them. Thank you, Senior. I will continue to work hard. Lin Ling nodded with a smile. Senior Dandelion's eyes flashed. Lin Ling's cultivation speed was unprecedented, but in the martial god world, there were many geniuses like Lin Ling who rose like a comet. However, in the end, most of them lacked momentum and were drowned in the end. She hoped that Lin Ling wasn't one of those geniuses who rose like crazy in the early stages but lacked momentum. With your strength, I'm afraid there are few opponents in the third generation. Therefore, the Academy ordered you to participate in the Great Azure Divine Dynasty's drill ground battle. Senior Dandelion said again. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. So far, there were already a few people who had invited him to participate, so he wouldn't refuse. Moreover, his strength wasn't few opponents in the third generation. He had long been invincible in the third generation. When he returned from the rising sun boundary, there was no need to mention now. Lin Ling. At this moment, a voice came from afar. Ancestor Dragon Granny walked over with 9 void cicada, and her face was full of joy. Obviously, they also knew that Lin Ling had created the first record in the Sword Dao department. This greatly increased Ancestor Dragon Granny's face. After all, Lin Ling was a genius she had recommended. Senior Dandelion immediately bowed to Ancestor Dragon Granny. She had the same status as the latter, but she was much younger. After the two chatted for a while, Ancestor Dragon Granny looked at Lin Ling and said, "It seems that you can't avoid the Great Azure Divine Dynasty's drill ground battle. In fact, this is only a battle to test the geniuses of the 3 academies. There will be the 3rd generation and 2nd generation. You and the others will also appear there. The reason why the Academy forced you to participate is to let you know the strength of the 2nd generation. At least it can broaden your horizons. Of course, there's another reason. You are currently a 3rd generation, but you haven't gone through the assessment. Therefore, this is also the time for you to prove yourself. As long as you defeat 3 3rd generation, you can truly become a 3rd generation. As long as you become a 3rd generation, there's nothing for you to do next. What's left is the confrontation between the strongest 3rd generation of the 3 academies, as well as the 2nd generation's newcomers. Ancestor Dragon Granny explained. In her opinion, Lin Ling's growth was crazy, but compared to the strongest 3rd generation of the 3 academies, Lin Ling was still some distance away. Is there a reward? Lin Ling asked curiously. Hearing this, Ancestor Dragon Granny and Dandelion looked at each other and couldn't help but smile bitterly. This guy was also a miser. No, this is the time for the geniuses of the 3 academies to display their strength in front of the experts of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty, so there's no reward. So that's the case. Then there's no meaning. However, you and the others will come. I'll definitely go to the drill ground battle. Lin Ling wasn't interested because his goal was to become a 2nd generation. The competition between the strongest 3rd generation was nothing to him. Chapter 2472. 10 breaths of time. Although Lin Ling wasn't a 3rd generation descendant, the Academy had already treated him as one. Thus, he had his own mansion within Resplendent Academy. As for Xian Yuan Gu, and the others, they all moved in. Moreover, in the following period of time, Lin Ling also went to the city square. The city square's business became increasingly good, causing Lin Ling's monthly income to rise by a great deal. And in the following month, Lin Ling was surprised by something. This was because Sword Immortal Firmament and the others had brought several people with them. They were Little Flame, Princess Huoling, and the others. They had also given birth to a world origin seed and had officially stepped into Martial God World. After the pleasant surprise, Lin Ling also asked about his hometown. What made him feel at ease was that nothing major had happened in his hometown. Everything was fine. This meant that Lin Ling only needed to prepare for the upcoming battle with the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. In the following months, Lin Ling once again entered a state of bitter cultivation. Falling flowers and flowing water couldn't help but be convinced. After all, Lord Lin Ling was already so strong and yet he still didn't forget to cultivate. This diligence left them ashamed. Blue skies and white clouds, the sun shined down. In the skies of Resplendent Academy, a mysterious ray of light illuminated the earth, causing everyone who bathed in this light to feel extremely comfortable. Lin Ling, I will give you an incense stick of time. Immediately come to the forest south of Blue Province. Otherwise, you will have to bear the consequences. On this day, Lin Ling was cultivating in his mansion. But, an angry roar suddenly resounded in his ears, interrupting Lin Ling's cultivation. A trace of blood leaked out from the corners of his mouth. If one was interrupted in the middle of cultivation, then the best-case scenario was that the spiritual energy in their dantian would become chaotic. And now, Lin Ling was attacking the 6th stage of the World King realm. Since he was interrupted, he naturally suffered a great deal of injuries. His eyes opened, filled with anger. This newcomer had such overbearing methods. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you'd better come here obediently. Otherwise, your family and friends in the market will all die. Moreover, Xian Yuan Gu, and the others will also die. Don't question whether I have such means. If I want to play with you, it's easy and simple. That voice laughed sinisterly, as if it was a vengeful spirit. However, Lin Ling could tell that it was Zhang Wen. Moreover, the other party was threatening him. If Lin Ling did not do as Zhang Wen said, then Xian Yuan Gu, and the others would be in danger. Don't even think about telling the academy. It's useless. As if sensing Lin Ling's thoughts, Zhang Wen's voice drifted out again. However, this time, Lin Ling's eyes turned even colder. This was because Zhang Wen had touched Lin Ling's reverse scale. He knew that Zhang Wen couldn't wait for Lin Ling to die. However, as a martial artist, as a man, if he had any grievances, he should take them out on Lin Ling. What was the point of threatening his family and friends? Senior Zhang Wen, we don't have any great enmity between us. Must you force me into a dead end? Lin Ling said calmly. Are you begging for mercy? Unfortunately, it's too late. Are you coming or not? If you don't come, you'll definitely regret it. Zhang Wen sneered. Alright, I'll be there in the time it takes for a joss stick to burn. Lin Ling stood up, and his eyes turned even colder. He had to go. After all, Zhang Wen was in the dark, and Lin Ling was in the light. If Zhang Wen secretly attacked Xian Yuan Gu, and the others, then Lin Ling wouldn't be able to guard against it. Moreover, Lin Ling didn't dare to gamble. After all, if he lost, Xian Yuan Gu, and the others would die. Therefore, Lin Ling had to get rid of Zhang Wen, this hidden danger. Zhang Wen, you're courting death. Lin Ling left the mansion and headed towards First Ring City. Along the way, the last generations he met all bowed respectfully to Lin Ling, but Lin Ling didn't have time to pay attention to them. Those third generations had also heard of Lin Ling's name and also greeted him. However, Lin Ling also ignored them. That was because he didn't have much time, only an incense stick's worth of time. This Lin Ling is so arrogant. We took the initiative to greet him, but he actually ignored us. He's just a newcomer, and he's so arrogant with just a little bit of achievement. I think he won't go far. What can we do? His rise is fast, and he's also ranked in the top 20 among the third generations. If you're unwilling, then try to defeat him. Just rank 20, and he's not the strongest third generation. Those third generations coldly snorted, thinking that Lin Ling didn't know how to appreciate favors. Of course, they were even more jealous. As for Lin Ling, he madly rushed out of Radiant Academy and arrived at First Ring City. Then, he left Blue Province and headed south. A moment later, a dense forest appeared in front of him. Lin Ling shot down. In the forest, two figures were already waiting. One was Zhang Wen and the other was Qian Chen. When Lin Ling appeared, they couldn't help but be startled. This was because they didn't think that Lin Ling would really come. After all, this was the same as throwing away his life. Zhang Wen was extremely cautious. He looked all around, afraid that Lin Ling had brought Ancestor Dragon Granny and the others with him. However, all was quiet. Lin Ling seemed to have come alone. He is only at the 5th level of the World King realm. Although he is strong, how could he be Senior Zhang Wen's match? Senior Zhang Wen is already at the peak of the World King realm. Killing Lin Ling is as easy as flipping his hand. This Lin Ling really came. Qian Chen still couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. He didn't think that killing Lin Ling would be so easy. Zhang Wen couldn't help but feel excited. But, he still asked, Lin Ling, did you really come alone? In the forest, Lin Ling stood tall like a pine tree. His blue robes were as mysterious as the clouds in the horizon. But, his eyes were icy cold. He lightly said, you only have 10 breaths of time. Leave behind your last words, otherwise you will regret it. Leave behind their last words. Zhang Wen and Qian Chen glanced at each other. They couldn't help but laugh. Qian Chen looked at Lin Ling with contempt, as if he were looking at a dead man. He lightly said, you said that we only have 10 breaths of time, so you want us to leave behind our last words? He felt that these words should be said to them, right? Therefore, he almost thought that he had heard wrongly. You have 8 breaths of time left. However, Lin Ling's expression was cold as he calmly replied. It seems that you've gone mad. Qian Chen finally confirmed Lin Ling's words. However, he laughed even louder. Lin Ling, oh Lin Ling, you must have been scared silly. But, if you want to blame someone, blame yourself for not understanding etiquette. You didn't even give me a gift. Now that you're going to die by my hand, you can die without regrets. Zhang Wen shook his head. His eyes were filled with murderous intent and confidence. It was as if he wanted to kill Lin Ling and Lin Ling couldn't resist at all. 6 breaths. However, Lin Ling's eyes remained unchanged. Senior Zhang Wen, make your move. Qian Chen didn't want to waste his breath. He was even a little excited because the enemy of Tating Commandery was going to die in front of his eyes today. In the beginning, Tating Commandery had disdained Lin Ling. Then, they started to value him. Now, they had reached the point where they had to kill him. This was because Lin Ling's growth was too fast. Moreover, he had quietly gained a foothold in the martial god realm. Chapter 2473. Queen Qianji takes action. Lin Ling, after you die, I will take good care of your family and friends, especially that Xian Yuan Gu her. I will make her happy. Zhang Wendo angrily shouted out. At the same time, a powerful aura erupted from him. With a peak World King realm cultivation as well as a first-grade awakened divine body, he didn't need to frown to kill Lin Ling. 3 breaths. Hearing Zhang Wen's words, Lin Ling's eyes became even colder. At the same time, Zhang Wen's terrifying aura pressed down on him like the might of the heavens. As the second generation of the past, Zhang Wen's strength was indeed impressive. He wasn't someone that Lin Ling could fight against at the moment. Regret, feel pain, and groan. The waters of the martial god world are deep. If you don't know how to be a man, then you must die. Bang! Countless palms seemed to turn into countless worlds, grabbing at Lin Ling. If they hit, Lin Ling would be crushed. Time's up. Bang! However, at this time, Lin Ling finally spoke, Queen Qianji, kill them. Bang! What an ugly guy. You can't win in a face-to-face fight, so you play dirty tricks. I, Queen Qianji, despise such people the most. Bang! Just as the countless palms were about to grab Lin Ling, an enormous aura soared into the sky, causing all the trees in the forest to fly backward. Moreover, a spider web enveloped Lin Ling like a heavenly silk, firmly protecting him within. At the same time, the white silk in the sky cut everything, forming a giant spider web that covered the entire forest. Then, a giant figure appeared, as if a Spider King had arrived. This Spider King was very delicate, and it had the charm of a woman. However, the king's aura was also very strong. It looked at Zhang Wen and Xian Yuangu as if they were ants. At this moment, Zhang Wen used a powerful martial art, but all of it hit the spider web, and all of its power disappeared. At this moment, both of them were completely stunned. True God Realm. This was a true God Realm powerhouse. Buzz. Buzz. At the same time, a large number of poisonous creatures appeared around them. There were centipedes, spiders, snakes, and so on, and each of them was like a god, protecting the Spider King. This was the descent of the gods. Divine body, a real divine body. Zhang Wen's face turned pale when he saw this. That was because having the characteristics of the descent of the gods represented a godly body, which was even more terrifying than having an awakened godly body. As a genius of Grand Court Commandery, Qian Chen had naturally seen such a formidable talent before. His lips trembled. Lin Ling is only at the 5th stage of the World King realm. Why would he have a true immortal realm powerhouse by his side? Moreover, that powerhouse isn't an ordinary powerhouse. He has a divine body. At this moment, his heart was like dead ashes. He knew that he had no chance of winning. Senior Zhang Wen was only at the peak of the World King realm, but the person behind Lin Ling was at the true divinity realm. How could they fight? Kill them, Queen of Qianji. Lin Ling said indifferently, ignoring the two's surprise. Run. When he heard this, Zhang Wen's expression changed violently, and he transformed into a gust of wind that flew towards the distance. Unfortunately, could he escape? Right now, an inescapable net had been set up here. Whoosh! Whoosh! Countless spider webs sealed the heavens and the earth as powerful primal chaos energy filled the air. These spider webs seemed to be born from the primal chaos of the universe. As for primal chaos force, it was a force that was even stronger than world essence. No matter how Zhang Wen attacked, he was unable to break through that force. This caused Zhang Wen to panic even more. Today, he had set up a trap to kill Lin Ling, but who knew that the trap was left for him? Senior Lin Ling, please spare my life. I was just joking. He kept dodging the spider webs as he shouted. Unfortunately, Lin Ling remained cold and silent. A joke. If Queen Qianji wasn't here, Lin Ling would have been killed already. Whoosh! Whoosh! As if sensing Lin Ling's anger, even more spider webs shot out, reducing the space that Zhang Wen could dodge in. He was like a trapped beast, trapping him to death. After all, although Zhang Wen couldn't compare to a true divinity realm master, he was still at the peak of the World King realm. If he burned his world essence, then his strength would double. And if he accidentally escaped, that wouldn't be good. Sure enough, Zhang Wen burned his world essence, incinerating the spider webs around him. Unfortunately, he was still trapped in the forest. No matter how much spider webs were burned, how much was born. This continued until Zhang Wen's world essence was exhausted. Gradually, Zhang Wen found it difficult to breathe. This feeling of being trapped, he really didn't want to experience it a second time. Of course, he wouldn't have a second chance. Just as his boundary essence was getting weaker and weaker, a strand of spider silk sliced through like a sword, chopping off his head. Then, his head rolled out, his face full of grievances. Zhang Wen, dead. After the head rolled out, Qian Chen's eyes widened. His entire body trembled, as if he had been frightened to the extreme. This was because he had come to see Lin Ling die, not to see Senior Zhang Wen die in front of him. Lin Ling looked at Zhang Wen's corpse, his face expressionless. Zhang Wen, the former second-generation master, a peak world king. This strength wasn't considered weak in the Azure province. Unfortunately, facing a true divinity realm master, he was as weak as an ant. Of course, this also allowed Lin Ling to realize just how weak a world king was. He was even more eager to reach the true divinity realm. Now, it's your turn. Putting away these thoughts, Lin Ling coldly looked at Qian Chen. What do you want to do? Qian Chen's heart skipped a beat. He quietly drew backwards. Lin Ling sneered. He pulled out the Tyrant Song's sword from behind him and stepped forwards. Perhaps you don't know, but what I hate the most is being threatened, especially when my family is threatened. Even if I were a god, I would still dare to kill them. He lifted his sword. The Azura energy was extremely strong. Azura demon kings floated around the sword. What a strong power of chaos! Queen Thousand Chance's eyes flashed. She could feel that the power of chaos in that sword was at least at the second level. A fifth-stage world king martial artist without relying on a weapon actually had the power of chaos at the second level. This was terrifying. You can't kill me. I am from the Grand Court Commandery. Our commandery has the 9 great sun bones of the Azure province. You are not his match. Qian Chen's face turned even paler. Sunbone. It's not like I haven't seen it before. Lin Ling smiled. His smile was brilliant. The sword in his hand gently slashed out. It looked like a single slash, but the truth was that he had already slashed out 49 times. Azura Sword Array. The power of chaos erupted, mixed with the true realm of the Tao. This fellow's ultimate sword Tao is too fierce. He has the true realm of the Tao. As long as one's cultivation is lower than his, then even if they have the same level of martial arts, their power will still be inferior to his. Queen Thousand Chance thought. She already knew that Lin Ling had comprehended the Azura sword array, but only after seeing its might with her own eyes did she realize just how fierce Lin Ling's sword was. If you dare to kill me, the Grand Court Commandery will not let you off. Qian Chen sensed the terrifying sword array shooting towards him. He let out the final cry of his life. Chapter 2474. Realm Breakthrough, you talk too much. Lin Ling calmly put away his sword and the items left behind by Qian Chen and Qian Chen. Then, he immediately left the forest. Behind him, Qian Ji turned into a stream of light and disappeared into Lin Ling's body. The pill you refined last time is really amazing. My talent has indeed increased. But where is the supplementary pill you promised me? It's time to give it to me. Don't worry. You helped me this time, so I won't owe you the supplementary pill. Lin Ling headed towards Resplendent Academy. At this moment, no one in Resplendent Academy knew that Senior Zhang Wen had died. The third generation and last generation were still bitterly cultivating, preparing for the Great Azure Divine Dynasty's martial field battle. To them, that was not only the time to become famous, but also the time to raise their status. If their performance was outstanding, then the last generation would have a chance to become the third generation. And the ranking of the third generation would be decided at that time. As for the second generation, that would be the battle of the new talents. The newly rising second generation would clash with each other. The atmosphere of the entire academy quietly changed. Lin Ling was naturally aware of this, and he also entered a state of bitter cultivation. He used all the divine crystals he had obtained from the rainforest market to buy cultivation treasures. Furthermore, he had also used the treasures left behind by Zhang Wen to cultivate. Qian Ji kept watching Lin Ling cultivate, but she couldn't see Lin Ling's dantian. She could only use his aura to check. She could only guess that Lin Ling's overall combat strength was very strong, several times stronger than those of the same realm. This fellow is clearly at the 5th stage of the World King realm, but his world essence is too thick. It feels like he's at the 8th stage of the World King realm. Moreover, his ultimate martial arts are also monstrous. One is the true realm of Tao, and the other is the minute realm. TSK, I really don't know how he comprehended them. No way, did he break through again? Without any bottlenecks? After observing for a while, Qian Ji exclaimed. Because Lin Ling had smoothly reached the 6th stage of the World King realm. He's only at the 6th stage of the World King realm. Lin Ling opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with unwillingness. Queen Qian Ji almost scolded him. She was certain that no one in the Resplendent Academy could match Lin Ling in terms of cultivation speed. However, Lin Ling was still unwilling to give up. What a freak! She didn't know that Lin Ling's unwillingness was because he wanted both of his Dantians to increase their realms. However, only one of his Dantians had increased. This meant that even though he had double Dantian and double innate talent, the amount of cultivation resources he needed was also several times higher. After that, Lin Ling immediately comprehended the boundary origin martial arts. The first thing he needed to upgrade was the demonic flame transformation. Because his realm had increased, this martial art could also reach the 2nd level. The 2nd level was heaven-shaking transformation. It could burn the flames of time and space, and increase one's strength by 2 levels. And with Lin Ling's 2 Dantians fused together, his world essence could reach the 8th level of the World King realm. In addition to the heaven-shaking changes, he could reach the 10th level of the World King realm. This was an extremely horrifying combat strength. Time quietly passed. There was a powerful enchantment around the mansion, preventing the power from sputtering out. If someone was in the mansion, they would discover that the entire place had turned into a sea of flames. Multicolored flames burned everything. Amidst this sea of flames, a demonic flame god stood there, his long hair wildly dancing in the wind. His eyes were multicolored, and with every movement he made, he seemed like a universal evil god. TSK, I can guarantee that unless one has an awakened divine body that surpasses yours by several levels, an ordinary 10th level World King will not be your match. Moreover, you have the 5th grade martial art Ashura sword array. Even a genius with a greater talent than you won't be able to easily defeat you. Queen Qian Ji couldn't help but cry out in alarm as she watched Lin Ling cultivate. Lin Ling's combat strength was too terrifying. Lin Ling smiled. He opened his mouth and sucked in all the flames, causing them to vanish into his mouth. He was now confident that he had become a 2nd-generation disciple. Moreover, he wasn't at the bottom of the 2nd-generation disciples. Thinking about it, from the last generation disciple candidate to the 2nd-generation disciple, the time that Lin Ling had spent was truly short. As Lin Ling was bitterly cultivating, the high-level figures of Resplendent Academy were gathered together. Vice Principal, for this battle on the Great Azure Divine Dynasty's martial field, my Resplendent Academy will send out Sikong Mifeng, Li Shuetao, Sword Tyrant, and Sir Dragon Scale. These are the strongest of the 3rd-generation disciples. The 2nd-generation disciples are Si Xuanmei, Luo Dongshan, Yu Yu, and Inuer. These newcomers have extraordinary talent and can contend with the 2nd-generation disciples of the other 2 great academies. In the hall, these people spoke one after another. Their strengths were unfathomable, each one comparable to Ancestor Dragon Granny. An old man dressed in a long white robe sat at the head of the group. His beard was extremely long, almost reaching the ground. There was an eye between his eyebrows. That eye was slightly closed, giving people the feeling of a divine king looking down on the world. He was the Resplendent Academy's old man Gong Tiangan. This person was extremely famous in the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. He was only below the 3 pillars of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty, the Prime Minister, the Grand Commandant, and the Imperial Censor. That's right. Although the Great Azure Divine Dynasty didn't send many experts to participate in this martial field battle, the weight is still not small. Our Great Azure Divine Dynasty's martial prowess has shaken the 9 prefectures, relying on an endless stream of geniuses. The geniuses that my Resplendent Academy is sending out this time naturally can't be weaker than the other 2 great academies. The old man said with a smile. Among the third-generation disciples, there is a junior called Lin Ling. His cultivation speed is extremely fast. From passing the examination to becoming a third-generation disciple, he didn't even need 10 years. This time, he will also pass the martial field battle and become a third-generation disciple. Someone else said. Oh, 10 years isn't enough. This kind of genius needs to be valued. The old man revealed an interested expression. Vice Principal, in these years, the Resplendent Academy has had many geniuses who rose quickly. However, common sense has proven that these geniuses rise quickly and fall quickly. A thin girl shook her head and said. What you said makes sense. However, that Lin Ling still needs to be taken care of. If he can maintain his momentum, then he will be a very extraordinary genius. This time, he must participate in the martial field battle. It's good to give him some pressure and let him know how strong the third and second generation disciples of the other academies are. The old man said again. We already let him participate. However, the vice principal's words are reasonable. His cultivation speed is too fast, so his foundation must be unstable. It's good to let him see some powerful geniuses. According to my estimation, it won't be difficult for him to become a third-generation disciple. However, being the strongest third-generation disciple of the three great academies will give him pressure. After the martial field battle, he will work even harder to cultivate and recognize himself clearly. He will not bite off more than he can chew. Someone immediately nodded. Good, now let's prepare for the martial field battle of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. The old man finally nodded his head. The martial field battle of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty was in Qing Province's second ring city. As time passed, the highly anticipated battle of the three great academies also arrived. Chapter 2475. The battle on the drill ground of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. The sky was clear and boundless, and the rosy clouds of the morning sun filled the sky. The vigorous sunlight illuminated Second Ring Road City in a dazzling golden light. There was a purple aura coming from the east, as if a myriad of emperors had descended. Early in the morning, a large number of people had gathered at the drill ground of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. This vast drill ground used to be the hunting grounds of the royal family, where many ferocious beasts of the universe were imprisoned. Later on, the location of the royal family's hunting grounds changed to that of the chaos of the universe. That was why the drill ground became a place for the descendants of the royal family to practice martial arts. It's so lively. Look, the 10 great sword immortals of the Qing prefecture are all here. This is nothing. Look, the experts of the 6 military camps are all here. They represent the military power of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. Tsk, their strength has already reached an unfathomable level. With just a move of their feet, the myriad of worlds would be shaken. The itinerant cultivators who had been waiting for a long time couldn't help but exclaim in excitement when they saw the experts around them. Far away from the drill ground, there was a high platform. At that moment, the high platform was already filled with people. They were all the pillars of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty. The vice-deans of the 3 great academies were all present. There were also the marshals of the 6 military camps, the 8th noble lord, the Marquis of Sovereign Heaven, and the Grand Secretary who controlled the heavenly soldiers and divine generals. These cultivators from the Great Azure Divine Dynasty had a terrifying sovereign chi on them. It was as if they came from the chaos of the universe. This was the sovereign chi left behind by the first emperor of the myriad realms. The so-called first emperor of the myriad worlds represented the first emperor of the primal chaos. Meanwhile, his aura was left behind for these experts, allowing them to be impervious to all evils, moreover doubling their fortune. People from the 3 great academies are here. It was unknown who shouted, but the entire drill ground was in an uproar. In the distance, 3 groups of people had arrived. They were the geniuses of the Resplendent Academy, Heavenly Saint Academy, and Sangling Academy. Being watched by countless gazes, those geniuses held their heads high and puffed out their chests in excitement. Today was the day for them to show their strength. If they were chosen by the experts of the Great Azure Divine Dynasty, they would have a meteoric rise. It would not be difficult for them to become the Lord of 1,000 realms. The geniuses participating in the drill ground this time are all quite strong. That must be the first Deputy General of the 1,000-Trick Battalion, King Huan, who has been training hard in the Heavenly Saint Institute. Not bad. If he keeps this up, it's possible for him to catch up with the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. At this moment, on the high platform, a powerhouse in embroidered clothes suddenly laughed. It was the Sovereign Marquis. "Huh, Marquis, you flatter me," said the commander of the 1,000 Strategy Battalion with a smile. The vice principal of the Heavenly Saint Institute also smiled proudly. "He's not the strongest among the second generation. Yu, Si Xuanmei, and Luo Dongshan from the Resplendent Academy aren't weak either." It was none other than the vice principal of the Resplendent Academy. "Vice Principal Gong Tiangong, let's see who's the real deal." Not to mention, our Sangling Academy's Black Prison, Armored Beast, and young Master Wentian are all second-generation geniuses. They're the stars of the new generation. They're definitely not weaker than your Resplendent Academy's second-generation geniuses. Another old man immediately retorted. He was the vice principal of the Sangling Academy. The 3 great academies had been competing with each other for many years. At this moment, no one was willing to submit to the other. While they were talking, the drill ground was in an uproar. Although there were many geniuses participating, most of the people were still staring at the second-generation geniuses. There weren't many famous second-generation geniuses, only about 20 of them. However, each one of them was extremely talented. Their awakened divine bodies were extremely powerful. It could be said that today was the battle stage of the second generation. Although the third generation also had to compete, it was obvious that the second generation had taken all the limelight. However, the third generation geniuses weren't jealous because they were wholeheartedly convinced of the strength of the second generation geniuses. "Huh, King Huan, let's fight later." Among the second generation geniuses, a handsome young man looked at a burly young man and laughed. "You're still a little weak." Among the second generation geniuses of the 3 great academies, only 4 can enter my eyes. They are Si Xuanmei, Yu, Black Prison, and Long Xuantu," said the burly young man indifferently. His words were full of disdain. This angered the handsome young man. He was also a second-generation genius. Who knew that King Huan would look down on him like this? This young man was called Wentian Gongzi. He came from the Sky Tribute Battalion of the 6 battalions. Then, he ignored King Huan because the latter was from the De Yuan mansion. He couldn't afford to offend him. He looked at a girl who looked like a pure lotus and smiled. "Yu, thank you for your help during the last trial. I've been holding a grudge for that favor and want to find a chance to repay you. I wonder if you'll do me the honor." As soon as he finished speaking, the other second-generation geniuses all looked at the girl in the purple dress. She was very beautiful. Her eyebrows were like a painting, and her facial features were exquisite. She was extremely beautiful. Moreover, her aura was deep and hidden. No one dared to underestimate her. And this girl had won the championship during the second generation's trial. Therefore, they didn't dare to underestimate her. And she was Yu. No need. It was nothing. However, Yu replied coldly. This made Wentian Gongzi smile awkwardly. If any other girl had treated him coldly, he would have been furious. But facing Yu, he couldn't get angry. "Yu, where's Si Xuanmei? Where's Anuer? Why aren't they here?" asked one of the second-generation geniuses. After all, they had gone to the trial together before. Therefore, they knew each other. "I don't know. But when the second-generation geniuses fight, they'll definitely come back. At the mention of an Yu Yu's eyes immediately flashed with worry. Why hadn't Sister Yu returned from the trial? She was with senior sister Si Xuanmei. Could something have happened? Maybe she died, said a second-generation genius mockingly. Yu was furious. She glared at him fiercely. The second-generation genius smiled awkwardly. The crowd looked at the pearl-like second-generation geniuses and felt even more envious. So strong. Every one of them is stronger than us. On the side of the resplendent academy, Luohua Lushui looked at the experts around him and said solemnly. After gathering with the geniuses of the other 3 academies, he finally understood that there was always someone better than him. Lin Ling, look, it's Yu. Xian Yuan Gu, was overjoyed. He pointed at the center of the drill ground. Because the second-generation geniuses were too dazzling. It was hard to miss them. I finally see her. Her strength has increased tremendously. It seems like she has her own fortuitous encounter. Lin Ling also looked in the direction of the drill ground. His face was filled with nostalgia. He took a step forward and walked towards the drill ground. Back when Yu left, Lin Ling had already taught Yu how to cultivate. It was very suitable for her. And Yu seemed to have her own fortuitous encounter. With the combination of the two, her strength naturally increased rapidly. At this moment, the entire drill ground was filled with whispers. But at this moment, a figure casually walked out, instantly attracting countless gazes. Wow, who is that? He has guts to walk towards the second-generation geniuses. Look at his clothes, he seems to be from the last generation. Admirable, admirable. He's playing to the gallery to attract the attention of the seniors on the high platform. Chapter 2476. Arousing anger, is this fellow from our Radiant Academy? On the high platform, the vice principal of Radiant Academy stared at the youth that walked out. He couldn't help but ruefully smile. Yes, he seems to be that fellow called Lin Ling. Beside him, another person helplessly shook his head. This fellow is the genius with the fastest cultivation speed in our academy. He's quite brave. However, the reason we allowed him to participate in the martial field battle was to give him some pressure, but who would have thought that this fellow would be so calm and carefree, without any pressure at all? The vice principal's bitter smile deepened. This seems to be Lin Ling. Yes. Besides the vice principal, Lord Eighth's pupils shrank. Beside him, Red Jade Tiger revealed a helpless expression. This is a soldier that doesn't want to be a general, so this fellow doesn't seem to be afraid of doing anything. Moreover, he will do whatever he wants to do. Rules have no effect on him. What an interesting person. Lord Eighth couldn't help but laugh. Gong Tiangon, do you people from Radiant Academy not understand etiquette? At this time, a mocking voice sounded out. It was the vice principal of Heavenly Saint Academy. In his opinion, the center of the martial field was a place that only second-generation juniors could enter. Did this strange fellow have the qualifications to do so? Is there a rule that doesn't allow me to enter? But Gong Tiangon asked in return, making it difficult for the vice principal to refute. This was because there was indeed no rule that prevented the last generation juniors from entering the center of the martial field. At this time, the crowd was still discussing. They could see that this youth was only at the 6th level of the World King realm. Amongst all the geniuses present, this was an extremely ordinary cultivation. Thus, they were surprised that Lin Ling didn't feel inferior at all. Where did his confidence come from? Lord Lin Ling. On the side of Radiant Academy, Falling Flower Flowing Water and the others ruefully smiled. They were also surprised by Lin Ling's actions. Even they thought that Lin Ling didn't have the qualifications to enter the circle of second-generation juniors. In fact, Lin Ling even seemed to be a step away from entering the circle of the strongest third-generation juniors. Of course, it wasn't just them. Even powerful warriors like Ancestor Dragon Granny thought the same. After all, Lin Ling's cultivation speed was considered fast, but it was impossible for him to enter the circle of the second generation in the blink of an eye. Big Brother Ling. Yu also saw Lin Ling. She couldn't help but smile, and her eyes were filled with excitement. She already knew that Lin Ling would come, but seeing Lin Ling again, she couldn't help but miss him. Lin Ling was also staring at her. It was as if the entire world had disappeared and only Yu existed. Lin Ling ignored the disdainful voices around him. Do you know what you're doing? However, at this moment, a cold voice suddenly rang out, interrupting Lin Ling and Yu's exchange of glances. A handsome young man in a red robe with his hair tied behind his head stared at Lin Ling. His hands were behind his back, and he had an indescribable elegance about him. A friendly smile appeared on his face as if he was very courteous. He calmly stood in front of Lin Ling. I'm looking for my family. Lin Ling looked at the person in surprise, but he still smiled politely. Looking at your clothes, you seem to be the last generation of the academy. Do you know what this place represents? The young man lightly shook his head. He was Wentian young master. I know, but there seems to be no rule that prevents me from coming. Lin Ling frowned slightly, not understanding why the other party would ask such a question. There are indeed no rules, but don't you have an inferiority complex? We are the second generation, and you are only the last generation. Even if you are the third generation, you still don't have the qualifications to come here. Wentian young master said indifferently. The second generation next to him was also looking at Lin Ling, but there was a strange look in his eyes. It was disdain. Hearing this, Lin Ling glanced at the people around him and immediately understood what he meant. A smile appeared on his lips. Inferior? I'm sorry, I really don't. Even if I do, compared to my family, I don't care about any inferiority complex. Also, thank you for your reminder, can you move aside? Move aside. After saying that, he didn't say anything else, and with a big step, he passed by the other party. The whole process, without fear, was magnanimous. The geniuses of the three academies in the distance immediately went into an uproar. They were all surprised by Lin Ling's action. After all, passing by the second generation wasn't something that anyone would dare to do. I don't know if you are trying to please the crowd, or if you are purposely looking for an excuse to make the seniors pay attention to you. But let me remind you, be careful of smashing your own foot with a stone. You said you know the second generation, right? Then prove it to us, who among the second generation knows a piece of trash like you. The smile on Wentian young master's face instantly disappeared, and a cold light quietly appeared in his eyes. He didn't expect that such an ant would dare to refute him. Did this ant think that he was a Ring King level expert? I think he is trying to please the crowd. Unfortunately, without strength, how can he get the seniors' attention? Let's see which second-generation rookie he knows. If no one knows him, then let's chase him away. That's a good suggestion. Immediately, a large number of voices came from the surroundings. To them, Wentian young master and the other second-generation rookies were standing in the drill ground, and they were convinced. They were definitely not convinced. In the drill ground, countless people looked at Lin Ling, waiting for Lin Ling to return in disgrace. However, under everyone's gaze, Lin Ling still walked forward, and came in front of Yu, and then smiled slightly. He didn't know that his appearance would cause such a huge commotion, because he didn't see the rules clearly stating that only second-generation rookies could come out. Of course, if he knew the rules, he wouldn't have come out. But now, he had come out even if he didn't want to, so how could he walk back? At this moment, everyone around the drill ground was moved. Among the second-generation rookies, there were a few famous beauties, such as Si Xuanmei, Yu, and Yuer, and fairy Xianglan. These four beauties could be said to be favored by the heavens, and even the second-generation rookies of the three academies were somewhat moved by them. However, these four beauties' talent and strength were too strong, and they had long been unable to catch up to the second-generation rookies. Therefore, everyone could only look up to them. And now, this unprepossessing guy actually walked in front of Yu, and he seemed to know Yu. This guy. I can't see myself clearly. Subconsciously, among the second-generation rookies, many people coldly shouted. They didn't think that Lin Ling knew Yu at all. Moreover, the goddess in their hearts seemed to have been blasphemed, which made them very unhappy. I know that Yu is liked by many people, but he wants to get close to Yu. This is a toad wanting to eat swan meat. I'm guessing that Senior Yu will definitely slap him. Haha, I'm waiting for that slap. Lecher, go to hell. Chapter 2477. A shocking kiss. However, Yu was the same as Lin Ling. She didn't care about the gazes around her. Instead, she smiled happily. She, who was always cold, revealed a little girl's attitude. That smile, as if she was looking back, shocked everyone. What? Are my eyes playing tricks on me? That senior sister goddess actually responded. Fake, this must be fake. Senior sister Yu didn't slap that wastrel's face. The last generation and the third generation of the three great schools were all shocked. In fact, the second generation's pupils also constricted. Previously, they took the initiative to invite Yu to talk, but Yu was like a goddess and ignored them. Now, however, she was like a goddess. Yu actually responded to Lin Ling's one sentence. Could it be that Yu knew that wastrel? Yes, it must be so. That wastrel really hit the jackpot. Many people secretly thought that senior sister Yu treated that wastrel as her junior brother, so she didn't slap his face in front of everyone. However, was it really just her junior brother? At this moment, Lin Ling didn't care about the gazes around him. He looked at the girl in front of him, and a trace of nostalgia appeared in the depths of his eyes. Yu was the girl he met in the Gu Yen sect. They were childhood sweethearts, and the two of them had gone through countless ups and downs together. Now that he saw her again, Lin Ling couldn't hold back his feelings of longing. He took a big step forward and arrived in front of Yu. He reached out and hugged Yu's slender waist. How dare you! Lin Ling's action caused the flames of jealousy to erupt in the entire drill ground like a volcano. That wastrel actually hugged senior sister Yu. However, before their angry voices died down, something even more terrifying happened. They saw Lin Ling looking at Yu with deep affection, and then he kissed her. Boom! This action was undoubtedly a bolt from the blue, and it broke the hearts of many young people who looked up to Yu. That's right, their hearts were completely shattered. If looks could kill, Lin Ling would have died countless times by now. The humiliation that Lin Ling brought to them was simply wave after wave. Bastard! You're courting death. Those second-generation talents were all stunned. Then, their eyes were filled with jealousy. Without a doubt, that kiss was a world-shaking kiss. As for Gong Tiangan, who was on the high platform, his long beard was blown up. He never thought that the little guy would do such a thing. Giving a shocking kiss in front of so many people. Was he trying to make others jealous to death? Lin Ling, you really are a real man. On the other side of the resplendent academy, Xian Yuan Gur smiled. This was her man. No matter how many people opposed him, Lin Ling would never back down. If a man doesn't even dare to acknowledge his beloved woman, then is he still a man? From the beginning to the end, Lin Ling didn't care about the anger of the crowd. Then, he held Yu's hand and walked towards the resplendent academy. To him, Yu was already his woman. Moreover, he also knew that many people were covetously eyeing his woman. Therefore, his previous kiss also told everyone that Yu was already taken. As for Yu, being held by Lin Ling, she was happy because she hadn't experienced this feeling in a long time. If she remembered correctly, the last time was at the sacred rainforest. However, in the martial god world where experts were as common as clouds, brother Lin Ling still didn't disappoint her. At least, it proved that Lin Ling dared to take responsibility for his actions. Although I also think that he overestimates himself, for the sake of his lover, he dares to ignore the gaze of the world. If such a man comes to hold my hand, I will also go with him. You're being love-struck, right? Although that young man is a bit weak, he's not bad looking. The most important thing is that he dares to take responsibility for his actions, unlike some hypocritical men who say one thing on the surface and another behind their backs. If I really ask him to take action for me, I guarantee that he won't dare to put down his face. They're a very good pair. Seeing the handsome young man holding Yu Yu's hand, many girls laughed. In their eyes, this was an extremely beautiful scene. This brat. Young Master Wentian stared at Lin Ling, his eyes filled with coldness. He couldn't understand how a trash like Lin Ling could obtain Yu Yu's heart. The two of them weren't even on the same level. I don't know what kind of bewitching potion he gave Yu Yu, but he's only the last generation. If he wants to fight later, he'll definitely lose face. Yu Yu might even abandon him. Yes. That's right, exaggerated things don't last long. Only strength can prove everything. The other second-generation juniors coldly said. In truth, they also couldn't accept this reality. Following this, the martial field battles also began. At the start were the challenges between the last-generation juniors. The winner could directly challenge the third-generation juniors. If they could win 3 times in a row, then they could become the third generation. This martial field battle was not only a time to show off one's strength, but also a time to ascend. The last generation juniors of the 3 great academies stepped onto the stage one after another, causing the audience to cheer again and again. Some people failed and some people succeeded. As time passed, it was finally Lin Ling's turn to step onto the stage. Although he was a third-generation junior, he hadn't yet passed the assessment. Thus, the academy had arranged for him to participate in these 3 battles to prove himself through strength. And regarding this, Lin Ling agreed, not caring much about it at all. But because of Yu Yu's previous matter, these 3 matches that were originally very simple had suddenly become troublesome. He stepped onto the stage to challenge 3 third-generation juniors. He's a 6th-level world king, I want to see just how he'll fight. Hee hee. Hee hee, I wonder if senior apprentice sister Yu Yu will abandon him when she sees him being beaten to a pulp. Of the 3 great academies, besides Radiant Academy, the geniuses of the other 2 academies weren't optimistic about Lin Ling's chances. As for Radiant Academy, many third-generation juniors knew that this Lin Ling was extraordinarily strong. Unless his luck was bad and he ran into a third-generation junior in the top 10, it shouldn't be difficult for him to pass. After all, Lin Ling had defeated Qian Chen, who was ranked in the top 20 of Radiant Academy's third-generation juniors. And the challenges would be decided by drawing lots. Heavenly Saint Academy, genius from 9-star camp, Lu Wanli. When the opponent appeared, the side of the drill ground immediately became lively and noisy. Lu Wanli, 7th-level world king, 9th-level profound body, and also an early 3rd-level origin martial art. He will definitely win. Then doesn't that mean the youth from before will lose? Not only will he lose, but he will lose miserably. Many people who didn't know what was going on let out excited cries. They wished that Lin Ling, who had stolen the heart of the goddess, would return in a sorry state. It looks like you are not popular at all. But, you really did go too far before. Sometimes you shouldn't have any improper thoughts about something that doesn't belong to you. Unfortunately, your luck is too bad. Since you ran into me, I only need a single move to deal with someone like you. On the martial field, a thin youth appeared. He was a bit excited, because with his strength, he shouldn't have had the chance to shine on this stage. But now that he had run into an opponent like Lin Ling, he actually had a chance. 10,000-mile World King Fist. Chapter 2478. Consecutive victories. Apart from the geniuses from Resplendent Academy, the geniuses from the other two academies were very excited. Of course, their excitement was about to be extinguished. On the drill ground, Lin Ling looked at the distant Yu Yu and smiled. He knew that Yu Yu was looking forward to seeing his strength, just like how he was looking forward to seeing Yu Yu's growth. Unfortunately, his opponent was too weak, and he, Lin Ling, was unable to display much of his strength. Of course, if he was straightforward, Yu Yu would be more at ease with him. Lin Ling did not dodge. Looking at the youth who was charging at him, he directly punched him. There was no flashy move, just a simple punch. It looked ordinary, but it was as fast as lightning, and the position was tricky. It was like the punch of a demon god. With a boom, it fiercely smashed into the youth's face. Pooh! The youth's face was crooked from the punch, and he flew out of the drill ground. The sound of bones cracking could be heard, followed by a wail that resounded through the drill ground. One punch, defeated. At the same time, Lin Ling left the drill ground with large strides, and his indifferent voice floated out. You're right. To deal with trash like you, I only need one move. Simple. His words were simple, calm, and confident. But in the ears of those who were gloating, it was a mockery. This guy actually defeated Lu Wanli with one punch. Has his strength reached the level of a third generation? Too much. Too much. Seeing him so arrogant, I feel unhappy. Simple. No one was surprised by Lin Ling's strength, but more people felt unhappy. Interesting. His talent is actually to cultivate the physical body. That punch is not weaker than Jia Yuan's attack. Simple. On the high platform, an old man smiled faintly. He was the Grand Council. This guy is the youngest deputy general of the Martial God Battalion. Of course, compared to that powerful punch, I feel that his eyesight is more powerful. After all, to be able to see through the opponent's attack, find the weakness, and counterattack at the same time is even more difficult. Lord Eighth said with a smile. He was not surprised that Lin Ling would win. Instead, he took the opportunity to recommend Lin Ling. Even Lord Eighth praised him. That young man should be a genius not long ago, and to be able to defeat the third generation as soon as he entered the academy, his talent is also very impressive. The old man understood Lord Eighth's meaning and immediately said with a smile. The Scarlet Jade Tiger, who had been standing at the side, rejoiced. He had not expected Lin Ling to bring honor to the Martial God Battalion. After all, he knew how terrifying the strength of these lords was. It could be said that the myriad of worlds would explode with the slightest movement of their brows, and it was difficult to obtain their praise. After Lin Ling left the stage, the next three generations clashed, especially the clash between the strongest three generations, which caused countless cheers. However, compared to the crowd's surprise, Lin Ling was not interested in the battle, unless it was the battle between the new talents of the second generation. On the contrary, he and Yu Yu chatted endlessly, and had a slight understanding of Yu Yu's strength. Yu Yu had indeed had a fortuitous encounter and found the 10,000-year universal flow. It was an extremely mysterious river, and those who encountered it would obtain great benefits. Because of this, Yu Yu's strength had greatly increased. Where's Yu Her? Yu Her? Then, Lin Ling asked again. Our training this time was in a secret realm in the Eastern Territory, but I came back after my training ended, and Sister Yu Er seems to still be training. She is with senior sister Si Xuanmei, but don't worry, Brother Ling, Sister Yu Er will definitely come back in the battle between the new talents of the second generation. Yu Yu said, and made Lin Ling nod. The two of them stared at the drill ground again. Of course, there were not many geniuses that could enter Lin Ling's eyes. On the contrary, when he looked at the new talents of the second generation, his expression couldn't help but become serious because he saw awakened divine physiques that were even more talented than him. There were two people that he was very wary of. One was like the reincarnation of a ghost king, and the other gave him the feeling of a fierce beast. Their origins were definitely not simple. Not long after, it was Lin Ling's turn to go on stage again. This time, his opponent was from the third generation of the Resplendent Academy. It's young Master Tianlan. This guy is much stronger than Lu Wanli from before. He will definitely be able to defeat Lin Ling. Yes. Many geniuses secretly clenched their fists. They didn't believe that Lin Ling would be able to survive by luck. There were even some people who cheered for young Master Tianlan. After all, this was his chance to become famous. On the drill ground, young Master Tianlan also appeared. His aura was extremely powerful, as if he was a tyrant. Of course, those who could appear here were all realm lords. Hearing the cheers around him, young Master Tianlan couldn't help but stare at Lin Ling seriously. As time passed, the aura on his body became more and more ferocious, causing the geniuses around him to become excited. Even the new talents of the second generation were looking forward to the fight. However, in the next moment, a voice like cold water extinguished his enthusiasm. I admit defeat. Surrender. Young Master Tianlan's aura disappeared in an instant, and with a bitter expression, he left with his tail between his legs. In fact, he definitely wanted to seize this opportunity to become famous. However, he was also a third generation of the Resplendent Academy. He already knew that Lin Ling could defeat Qian Chen, and he wasn't a match for the latter. Therefore, if he fought Lin Ling, he would be courting death. Fuck. Fuck. What the hell is this? Did he go easy on him? Fuck. That guy won 2 rounds in a row. If he wins another round, he will become a third generation. Sigh. As they watched young Master Tianlan leave, everyone felt disgusted, as if they had eaten a fly. They wanted to see Lin Ling lose face, but in the end, they were the ones who couldn't bear it. Lin Ling smiled and shrugged as if he was looking down on everyone. He then turned around and left. This was a very ordinary action, but it was like adding oil to the fire. More and more angry voices were heard. This caused Gong Tiangan, who was on the high platform, to laugh bitterly. He didn't expect Lin Ling to become a thorn in everyone's side. Furthermore, he couldn't understand why Lin Ling was so arrogant. He didn't know that to Lin Ling, he didn't need the approval of these people to reunite with Yu. These people used cold words to mock him, so why should Lin Ling give them any face? Not long after Lin Ling left the stage, another fierce battle broke out among the third generation. In the end, the strongest third generation of the 3 great academies was determined. In the end, Lin Ling's third battle arrived as scheduled. At this moment, many people were looking forward to it. They hoped that Lin Ling's opponent wouldn't be too weak this time. As if sensing the crowd's thoughts, a new opponent appeared. It was God Daozi from the Tsangling Academy. It's him, the previous Deputy General of the God of War Battalion, the 8th generation of the Tsangling Academy's 3rd generation. I didn't expect him to participate in this battle. TSK, he should be able to defeat Lin Ling. Sensing that a stronger opponent had appeared, many people became excited. Lin Ling's luck should be coming to an end. Chapter 2479. The Battle of the Second Generation Rookie. Is that so? Then let's wait and see. Yes. But as he stared at Master Divine Daoist on the martial field, his complexion also became dignified. He knew that Lin Ling had defeated the 36 world kings, but Master Divine Daoist was clearly stronger. He didn't know if Lin Ling's strength had risen or if he could fight with Master Divine Daoist. Seeking the Tao in the morning, attaining the Tao in the evening. Yes. At this moment, a lazy youth appeared on the drill ground. He wore a loose robe and his long hair cascaded down his back. He gave off the feeling of taking a stroll in the sunset. At the same time, Lin Ling also appeared on the drill ground. He stared at his opponent and sensed that his opponent's talent was very mysterious. I have a first-grade awakened divine body, the Tao-seeking divine body. Under my divine body, all martial arts will turn to nothingness. You will follow my Tao and enter the universe. God Daozi stretched out a hand. Halos of light spread out from his palm. Seeking the Tao in the morning, attaining the Tao in the evening. This was an ultimate martial Tao concept. Most importantly, when paired with his talent, this concept was even more powerful. It could change the ultimate martial Tao of others. If the opponent didn't have an ultimate martial Tao, then they would give up all martial Tao and enter God Daozi's tutelage, following him on the path of Tao. And if one wanted to break this move, first, one had to possess powerful world essence energy. Two had to surpass God Daozi in terms of talent and comprehension of the ultimate martial Tao. Otherwise, defeat was certain. In truth, God Daozi's combat strength wasn't strong. His strength lay in the mystery of his talent. Endless light bloomed. The drill ground seemed to become the source of light. Moreover, the chaotic sound of Tao drifted out. Although no one knew the result of the battle, no one thought that Lin Ling would be able to gain an advantage. Even Ancestor Dragon Granny and Senior Dandelion were worried. After all, God Daozi was stronger than Qianqian. Once his talent was revealed, Qianqian would give up martial Tao and follow him on the path of Tao. Wah! But just as everyone was looking forward to it, a pained voice rang out from the drill ground. Then, a figure flew out from the light and crashed to the ground, spitting out blood. It was God Daozi. Most importantly, this genius who was rumored to have touched the Tao had messy hair and a bruised face. He seemed to have been beaten into a miserable state. This. The crowd was dumbfounded and shocked. Even Ancestor Longpo was the same. Could it be that during this time, Lin Ling's strength had increased again? Divine Daozi was the third generation's top 10 in Sangling Academy. Did this mean that Lin Ling already possessed the strength of the third generation's top 10? It seems like we've underestimated him. He's probably in the top 10 of the third generation of the three colleges. Plus, he wasn't afraid of Master God Daoist's Tao-seeking physique. Either his talent is higher than Master God Daoist's, or his ultimate martial Tao is stronger. Of course, if he has both, then defeating Master God Daoist will be even easier. On the high platform, the Grand Council smiled faintly. His words made the Marshal of the War God Battalion extremely embarrassed. He had wanted Master Shindaozi to suppress the War God Battalion, but in the end, Master Shindaozi was so unbearable. This Shindaozi seems to be a genius from the last batch, right? And my family's Lin Ling is this batch's genius. TSK, the new generation excels the old. Red Jade Tiger immediately laughed mockingly. At this moment, he would definitely add insult to injury and properly ridicule him. Their 6 camps all belonged to the Great Azure Divine Dynasty, but they had long been on opposing sides. Then he stared at Lin Ling, feeling more and more that Lin Ling was mysterious. He probably hadn't used his full strength in the previous battle. He won 3 rounds in a row and became the third generation. Around the drill ground, many people were still looking at Lin Ling, feeling that it was extremely unreal. They had always wanted to see Lin Ling in a sorry state, and then they would be able to properly mock him. Who knew that such a thing would be so difficult? Now, Lin Ling had easily won 3 rounds in a row. The most important thing was that he had won 2 easily. Lin Ling, don't be too smug. How about another battle? In Sangling Academy, many of the third generation shouted angrily, itching to teach Lin Ling a lesson. And these third generation were the strongest of the 3 colleges. Hearing this, Lin Ling was startled. Was he smug? According to the rules, he had won 3 rounds in a row and then officially became the 3rd generation. Who was this in his way? Could it be that because he had recognized Yu, these guys had been jealous until now and wanted to see him in a sorry state? Do you dare or not? One of the 3rd generation burst out with a terrifying aura, standing like a giant, pointing at Lin Ling from afar and shouting angrily. Come on! Then, he had already walked to the center of the drill ground. Although he didn't know how Lin Ling had won, his talent wasn't afraid of Shindaozi, so he believed that he could definitely defeat Shindaozi. That's Prince Mo Yen of the 3rd generation of Heavenly Saint Academy. Many people clenched their fists, looking forward to an even more exciting battle. In fact, Prince Mo Yen was also looking forward to it. He was the son of the 100 Worlds Demon King, but in martial god realm, he was very ordinary. But if he could defeat Lin Ling, then he would be famous in the 3 colleges. Thinking of this, he was a little excited. You're crazy. Stop. However, Lin Ling shook his head, said this, and turned to leave. Lin Ling didn't want to fight. This time, everyone's enthusiasm seemed to have been met with cold water, and they all stood there dumbfounded. It felt like a powerful punch that had been brewing, but in the end, it had smashed into cotton. As for Prince Mo Yen, at this moment, he seemed to have suffered a great humiliation. Lin Ling didn't want to fight, and then he stood in the center of the drill ground like a fool, like a joke. Most importantly, he couldn't force Lin Ling to fight, because Lin Ling was obviously weaker than him. According to the rules, the strong couldn't challenge the weak, otherwise, it would be a violation of the rules. You're ruthless. Prince Mo Yen glared at Lin Ling, spat out this sentence, and left dejectedly. There was no doubt that there were many angry voices coming from all around. Unfortunately, Lin Ling ignored them all. The purpose of his trip was to challenge the 3 3rd generations, and now, he had achieved his goal. On the high platform, the experts looked at the excited drill ground and shook their heads helplessly. In order to extinguish the angry voices, they had to immediately start the battle of the 2nd generation newcomers. Sure enough, after the battle began, everyone's eyes fell on the 2nd generation newcomers. The 2nd generation newcomers represented the youngest genius of the 2nd generation. They were rising stars, and it was very likely that they would enter the Great Azure Divine Dynasty in the future. Among them, Yu, Lord Huan, Wentian Gongzi, Black Prison, and other geniuses were the most eye-catching. However, not long after the battle began, a woman with a bamboo sword on her back arrived. She was the most famous 2nd generation newcomer of the Resplendent Academy, Si Xuanmei. She was one of the top 10 sword celestials of the Green Prefecture, the disciple of the immortal Plum Sword. At such a young age, she was already famous in the martial god world for her immortal sword. After her arrival, the drill ground was in an uproar. It's her. Falling Flowers Flowing Water couldn't help but be shocked. Beside him, Lin Ling frowned as he looked at the woman. He felt that the woman's strength was very strong, and he was afraid that she was not weaker than him. Chapter 2480. Si Xuanmei, when I was young, I saw her once with my master. At that time, she was the strongest among all the sword immortal disciples. I didn't expect that after so many years, the gap between us and her has become so big. Falling Flowers and Flowing Water Sword frowned. Peak of the World King Realm. I think that none of us sword immortal disciples are her match. At some point, Moonlight Swordsman also walked over and said solemnly. Peak of the World King Realm, in addition to his formidable talent, who else could be better than him? Senior Apprentice Sister is indeed very strong. When we were adventuring in the Immortal Temple, the immortal monks we met were all defeated by her. Those immortal monks were all at the peak of the World King Realm and had formidable defenses. With the protection of immortal Buddhas, I could only defeat one immortal monk. Yu also looked at the center of the martial field and said with some adoration. She seemed to be very familiar with Si Xuanmei. Immortal Temple. Lin Ling's eyes flashed. He seemed to have heard of this name before. Then, his eyes brightened. Could it be one of the 9 provinces 10 vicious? In the past, when he traveled through the 9 province, he had also encountered the Immortal Temple. This was an ancient and mysterious power. It was said that those in the Immortal Temple were not humans, but gods. And he knew that this so-called Immortal Temple cultivated the demonic arts. Every powerhouse was an ancient martial artist who had died in the long river of history. He didn't know what powerful methods the Immortal Temple used to revive these ancient powerhouses and make them enter the Immortal Temple. Then Si Xuanmei is very good to you? Lin Ling looked at Yu Yu and asked. Yu Yu nodded. Si Xuanmei is also a second generation of the Resplendent Academy. Moreover, she directly became a second generation without needing to go through any tests. After she became our senior apprentice sister, besides being a bit serious, she is very good to us. She can become a second generation without any tests. Falling Flowers, Flowing Water and the others narrowed their eyes. Powerful geniuses had this advantage. Yu Yu continued, senior apprentice sister Si Xuanmei once defeated an exceptional talent. Moreover, her goal is to become one of the 9 heavens of the Azure province. Moreover, the Heaven Sovereign has already extended an olive branch to her, allowing her to enter the great Azure Divine Dynasty. Heaven Sovereign? That ancient expert as powerful as the 8th Lord? Hearing this, even Gong Yangjiang sucked in a breath of cold air. He seemed to know how terrifying the Heaven Sovereign was. Lin Ling, can you tell how powerful Si Xuanmei is? Blossoming Flowing Water Sword looked at Lin Ling and said. At the peak of the World King realm, you have dual talents. Lin Ling said as he stared at the white-clothed woman on the martial field. Brother Ling, how did you know? Yu Yu immediately exclaimed. This secret was only known to her and Inuer. She didn't expect that Lin Ling would be able to see through Si Xuanmei's strength the first time he met her. Moreover, both of them awakened the divine body. One of them is very mysterious, and even I can't see through it. Lin Ling said again. Through Si Xuanmei's attack, his 10,000 mammoths' devil eyes had detected a trace of movement. Freak! 2 awakened godly bodies. Blossoming Flowing Water Sword and the others cried out in alarm. After all, not every one of them had an awakened godly body. But, Si Xuanmei had 2 awakened godly bodies by herself. Senior apprentice sister Si Xuanmei, the number 1 second-generation rookie of Resplendent Academy, I would like to test your strength. If I win, I hope that senior apprentice sister can accompany me on a tour of the universe. On the martial field, the fierce battle between the second-generation rookies began once more. The one who appeared on the martial field was young Master Wentian. At this time, he was wearing a white robe, looking as handsome as a tree in the wind. He was extremely compatible with Si Xuanmei's snow-white robes. Of course, this was only what he thought. Across from him, the sword-wielding woman was cold and silent. Although she was young, she had a similar temperament to Senior Dandelion. No wonder she was so loved by others. You are too weak. Facing young Master Wentian's voice, Si Xuanmei stepped forwards and attacked. Xuanmei chasing sword. Her sword trembled. Like a bamboo in the snow, the clouds in the skies parted and snow fell down from the chaos. It was indescribably mysterious. In the snow, her sword was like a plum blossom. Whing, whing, whing. A mysterious melody came from the martial field. It was as if thousands of plum blossoms were dancing. It was very beautiful. That sword was like a flying immortal. Its speed was very fast. However, in the eyes of others, that sword was very slow. Moreover, it was extremely far away from young Master Wentian. Primal Chaos Energy. The ultimate sword Tao is at least close to entering the true realm of Tao. At this moment, Lin Ling said in a serious voice, young Master Wentian is about to be defeated by a single sword. What? As a second-generation rookie, young Master Wentian can't block a single sword? Falling flowers, flowing water's expression changed drastically. He secretly clenched his fists. He was very unwilling. No wonder his master always told him to use Si Xuanmei as a role model. Young Master Wentian is defeated. At the same time, on the high platform in the distance, a person smiled faintly. He was the Sky Sovereign. The eyes of the other experts also flashed. They could see how powerful that sword was. Therefore, they were also secretly shocked by Si Xuanmei's strength. In addition, on the other side of the martial field, 10 powerhouses stood there. Their auras were like green bamboos that wouldn't fall in the wind. Some were like emperors, grand and domineering. Some were ordinary and lonely, as if they could see through the blue sea. They were the 10 great sword immortals of the Blue Province. At this time, they could also see just how terrifying Si Xuanmei's sword was. Senior apprentice Sister Xuanmei's sword is indeed sharp. Like the wind and clouds questioning the world, like a plum blossom in the cold snow. Only young Master Wentian still didn't know how fierce that sword was. He even thought that since he was also a second-generation rookie, he might be able to defeat this most dazzling second-generation rookie. But just as this thought appeared in his mind, a sharp sword shot towards him from within the howling winds. That sword seemed very far away, but in the blink of an eye, it arrived in front of his eyes. That wisp of sword light flashed with a cold light. This is bad. The smug smile on his face vanished. His hands moved rapidly, constantly pointing out. I, Wentian. With every point he made, a golden light shot out like an arrow. Its speed surpassed the speed of a world and its striking power was extremely formidable. He was at the 9th level of the World King realm, but when these attacks came out, there weren't many people in the 9th level of the World King realm that could block them. Young Master Wentian has attacked. That is the Point Star King's ultimate skill, the Wentian finger art. The crowd was stirred up. This was because the Point Star King was an extremely famous world king of the northern lands. His ultimate skills couldn't be underestimated. Now, young Master Wentian had practiced them to the point of perfection. Many people even thought that young Master Wentian might be able to defeat Si Xuanmei. Unfortunately, that was only what those outside thought. But on the martial field, young Master Wentian felt as if he were being bathed in the killing intent of that sword. Dang! Dang! Countless golden fingers shot out like meteors. But, that sword still stabbed towards him, not even moving. Ultimate Sword Dao. Young Master Wentian cried out in alarm. His long hair wildly danced in the wind. Golden light shined and a massive aura shot into the skies. Behind him, a golden scepter appeared. A protective divine light appeared at the same time. Young Master Wentian's talent has erupted. That is a golden scepter. Chapter 2481. Universal Coffin vs. Si Xuanmei. When the golden scepter appeared, it was magnificent, as if it had absorbed the rich aura of 10,000 worlds. It enveloped Wentian young master and strengthened his defense. At the same time, his speed instantly increased. I have a first-grade awakened godly body. Unless your godly body is stronger than mine, you will not be able to hurt me. With the golden scepter, I am invincible. Wentian young master shouted coldly. His confidence had increased a little. However, a ray of light came from afar. It was a plum blossom. Clang! The sword came out like a plum blossom. Fast. Incomparably fast. Wentian young master did not expect that the sword would suddenly increase its speed to such an extent. The golden scepter above his head seemed to have been injured by the sword, and cracks appeared. Retreat. Wentian young master's face turned pale. What a sharp sword. His body turned into a golden light and disappeared from the spot. The golden scepter was a gold elemental talent and was famous for its speed. However, the sword followed closely behind. In the next moment, a painful cry rang out. Under countless gazes, Wentian young master's white clothes were stained with blood. Then, a severed arm fell to the ground. At the same time, a cold sword was pointed at his neck. It was Si Xuanmei's sword. I admit defeat. Wentian young master held his severed arm and said with a pale face. Hearing this, Si Xuanmei's expression did not change. She kept her sword and left proudly. He won. What was that sword? I thought Wentian young master could win. Who knew that he couldn't even block a single sword? Oh my god, it seems like Si Xuanmei is the #1 rookie of the second generation. After a short moment of silence, a large number of exclamations rang out. Wentian young master was one of the 22nd generation rookies. There was no doubt about his strength. In the battle between him and Si Xuanmei, even if he could not win, it would not be easy for Si Xuanmei to win. However, the result was that Wentian young master's arm was severed and he was defeated by a single sword. The gap between them was beyond everyone's imagination. Even the remaining second-generation rookies had extremely grave expressions on their faces. Si Xuanmei, I will fight you. Of course, none of the geniuses who were able to become second-generation newcomers would admit defeat easily. Soon, a young man carrying a huge coffin walked out of the drill ground. Following his footsteps, thousands of ghosts howled. He was Black Jail, one of the strongest among the second-generation newcomers. It was said that he was the reincarnation of the King Yenluo of Hell. He had experienced thousands of lifetimes in the myriad of worlds and had been the King Yenluo of Hell for tens of thousands of years. For a moment, everyone was looking forward to it even more. They did not seem to believe that Si Xuanmei was really so powerful. Reincarnator. At this moment, Lin Ling was also looking at the drill ground. He knew that Black Prison wasn't weak. After all, there weren't many people among the second-generation newcomers that he was afraid of, and Black Prison was one of them. Sir Lin Ling, can Black Prison win? Falling Flowers Flowing Water Sword asked. Lin Ling pondered for a moment, then shook his head. There's only a 30% chance. No way. Falling Flowers Flowing Water Sword's eyes narrowed. Was the difference really that big? Beside him, the Moonlight Swordsman clenched his fists tightly. He was originally the strongest genius in the assessment, but now, he had encountered demons that were each stronger than the previous one. This was a huge blow to him. Of course, Lin Ling was also one of the reasons why he was affected. It shouldn't be possible. I think it's a 50-50 chance. After all, many people in the 6 camps have heard of Black Prison's name. I don't think he will lose. Yes. The Moonlight Swordsman said in disbelief. Hearing that, Lin Ling shook his head. He did not explain further. The facts had proven everything. Oh right, where's Yu Her? Lin Ling frowned and asked. An Yuer had not appeared until now, which made him very puzzled. Sister Yu Er has been with Senior Xuanmei all this time. Perhaps only Senior Xuanmei knows where Sister Yu Er is. Yu was also worried. I hope Yu Er is fine. Lin Ling suddenly had a bad feeling. At this moment, on the drill ground, 2 second-generation rookies were looking at each other from afar. An oppressive aura spread out. Si Xuanmei, I have long heard of your name. Today, you seem to be the strongest in the drill ground. This means that if I defeat you, I will be the #1 second-generation rookie. Black Prison took off the huge coffin behind him and placed his hand on the coffin. A black ancient aura spread out. Universe Giant Coffin. Some ancient martial artists cried out in alarm. A long, long time ago, they had heard that there was a coffin floating around the universe, and that anyone who encountered it would die. And this was indeed the case. Every martial artist that encountered the coffin had died an unnatural death, causing the universe giant coffin to become a taboo for all martial artists. Who was buried in this coffin? No one knew, but it was certain that the owner of the coffin was an ancient warrior from the ancient era. However, in recent years, the universe giant coffin had disappeared. Who would have thought that the universe giant coffin was mentioned by Black Prison? You are no match for me. On the other side, Si Xuanmei's expression remained calm. She stared at the mysterious coffin and said indifferently, "That might not be the case." Black Prison chuckled and slammed his right hand on the coffin. Black fog drifted out from the coffin and was sucked into his nose. A layer of black moss appeared on his body. Yama's 18 hells. Black Prison's voice became dignified. He activated a majestic realm origin energy. Ghost Chi, Evil Chi, and Yama Chi intertwined and turned into 18 fists that were like meteors. He was the Yama King who had reincarnated for tens of thousands of years. His martial arts experience had reached a terrifying limit. Sending Plum Blossom. Facing the 18 fists, Si Xuanmei's sword trembled. She did not use any complicated realm origin martial arts. Her sword was like a blossoming plum blossom. You are stronger than young Master Wentian. To defeat you, I will need to use a lot of swords. The sky was filled with sword shadows. Snow fluttered and plum blossoms danced. Sword after sword, layer upon layer, surged towards the 18 fists, causing cracks to immediately appear on the 18 fists. Great Prison. Seeing this, Black Prison roared and more black fog drifted out from the coffin in front of him. Boom! 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 Suddenly, the 18 fists in front of her shook. Yiksha, Yama King, and the Yellow Spring Emperor all appeared. Moreover, there were scenes of the 18 hells. The most terrifying thing was that the scenes of the 18 hells actually followed Si Xuanmei's sword and attacked her. This was an attack that affected the soul. Crack! 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 Plum blossoms bloomed in the sky. Ice and snow filled the sky and immediately froze the 18 hells. However, there were still many scenes of hell that rushed towards Si Xuanmei. Good, good, good. Seeing this scene, many people could not help but cheer. Black Prison was indeed worthy of his name. Snow Embryo Plum Blossom Bone. However, Si Xuanmei's eyes flashed slightly. More swords danced out. Those swords shook out plum blossoms and continuously danced towards Black Prison. Heavenly Prison. Seeing this, Black Prison knew that the critical moment had arrived. Because, as long as Si Xuanmei was entangled by his 18 hells, then he would win. Chapter 2482. Enuer is dead. Black Prison isn't bad, but does he think he can defeat Si Xuanmei with just this? On the high platform in the distance, the Sovereign Marquis smiled. His voice was filled with confidence, causing the eyes of the powerhouses beside him to flicker. Could it be that Si Xuanmei was still hiding some trump cards? At the same time, the 18 levels of hell were getting closer and closer to Si Xuanmei, and she didn't seem to be able to block it. I won. At this moment, a smile appeared on Black Prison's face. Extreme boundary. However, that smile quickly froze because within the 18 levels of hell, a terrifying soul force accompanied by ice and snow rushed out like lightning. Ka ka ka. The scene of the 18 levels of hell was instantly shattered into pieces like pieces of glass, disappearing into the sky. What kind of technique is this? Is it a soul force attack? There seems to be the power of ice and snow in the soul, so powerful. Seeing this scene, many people exclaimed. Black Prison seemed to have erupted with his strongest technique, but it was blocked by Si Xuanmei. What? At the same time, Lin Ling's pupils constricted because he was too familiar with the power that Si Xuanmei had used. Soul force combined with the power of ice and snow, the only person who could control this kind of power was her. At this moment, Black Prison's expression was extremely solemn. However, at this moment, a sword light slashed over, causing him to finally react. This was because Si Xuanmei had blocked his strongest move, the 18 levels of hell. However, he couldn't block Si Xuanmei's sword. Most importantly, those swords came from all angles, so he couldn't tell which were real and which were fake. In other words, they were all real swords. Flame Spirit. Black Prison immediately roared and slammed his right hand into the coffin, causing it to explode. Countless black fog floated out, covering the sky. At the same time, Black Prison's figure rose infinitely, as if he had transformed into the master of the coffin. This person had turned into a giant coffin that had floated for countless years. A.O. A beast-like roar floated out, causing many World King powerhouses to vomit blood. Then, they saw Black Prison turn into an ancient corpse and punch out. Bang! Pang pang pang. A large number of plum blossoms exploded, and the swords were broken. However, there were too many swords, and they were cold and icy. The ancient corpse's movements became slower and slower. In the end, the ancient corpse exploded another 5 sword slashes. He could not avoid the last 3 sword slashes no matter how hard he tried, and he forcefully endured them. Then, he roared, and as if he was walking in the chaos, he pounced on Si Xuanmei. Behind the ancient corpse, a coffin that stretched as far as the eye could see appeared. It was a ghastly sight. Obviously, Black Prison was preparing for the final battle. No one had expected Black Prison to be so powerful. Even at this point, he could still continue to fight. However, one of the 10 great sword immortals of Qingzhou, a woman in a Taoist robe, shook her head. He lost. As expected, a sword pierced through the air. In an instant, it hung in front of the ancient corpse's neck and slashed horizontally. Puchi. Fresh blood immediately gushed out. It was the ancient corpse's green blood. As it spilled on the ground was corroded. Some warriors who reacted slower were directly corroded to death. However, no one paid any attention to the dead. They were all staring at the ancient corpse. However, the ancient corpse could no longer move. In the end, it collapsed on its back. Black Prison, dead. As they stared at this shocking scene, the entire drill ground was completely silent. No one had expected Si Xuanmei's sword to be so sharp. Moreover, they saw that Si Xuanmei did not even pant during the entire process. Her expression was calm, as if defeating Black Prison was a very normal thing. This meant that she did not seem to have unleashed her full strength. Black Prison was one of the strongest among the second-generation rookies. However, such a ferocious person like him was still unable to defeat the strongest Si Xuanmei. Among the second-generation rookies, Si Xuanmei could probably be ranked in the upper middle. Most importantly, Si Xuanmei had only been a second-generation rookie for a short period of time. Her potential was limitless. She could definitely surpass all the second-generation rookies and catch up with the 9 heavens of Qingzhou. She is indeed worthy of being the person that I value highly. On the high platform, the Sovereign Marquis nodded in satisfaction as wine appeared in his hand. At this moment, Si Xuanmei was undoubtedly the genius that all the major forces and powerhouses wanted to recruit the most. In the distance, the female swordsman among the 10 great sword immortals of Qingzhou revealed a gratified smile. Her disciple was finally going to rise today. Who else? At this moment, Si Xuanmei did not leave. Her indifferent gaze swept across all the geniuses from the 3 major academies. However, no one dared to speak when they met her gaze. Even the second-generation rookies lowered their heads when Si Xuanmei looked at them, including King Huan, who was highly regarded by everyone. Obviously, they were sincerely convinced by Si Xuanmei. They even thought that it was a miracle that someone dared to challenge Si Xuanmei at this moment. Thank you for letting me win. Seeing that no one spoke, Si Xuanmei's face remained cold as she turned to leave. She was not arrogant at all. She did not look down on anyone either. Everything was so natural. It was as if no one dared to challenge her. This was a very normal thing. Or perhaps, her goal was not to be the number one among the second-generation rookies, but to dominate the 3 major academies. Wait. However, at this moment, a clear voice rang out. Then, a woman in a purple dress floated out and stood on the drill ground. Junior sister, Yu, I have something to ask you. The beautiful woman who appeared was Yu. Go back, Yu. Seeing Yu, Si Xuanmei immediately said calmly. Senior sister Xuanmei, you treated us very well. You were like a big sister to us. Yu respects you very much. However, Yu did not leave. Instead, she bowed to Si Xuanmei. Then, she looked at Si Xuanmei with determined eyes. So, I want to ask, where did Sister Yu go? When she said this, Si Xuanmei's expression did not change. She shook her head and said, Yu is already dead. Why? How did Sister Yu die? Yu's eyes narrowed as if she did not believe Si Xuanmei's words. She frowned and said, Senior Sister Xuanmei, didn't you say that you would protect Sister Yu? How did she die? I don't believe you. Yu, you have to look forward in everything. We cannot change the dead. You have to accept reality. However, in the face of Yu's inquiry, Si Xuanmei's expression became dignified, as if she was Yu's senior sister. Yu died in the immortal temple, and I have already done my best. All of this is destined. As a martial artist, you have to accept all of this. I don't believe it. Sister Yu is definitely not dead. Yu's voice was filled with sobs. She and Yu were like sisters and had known each other for many years. Therefore, she could not accept this reality. From afar, Lin Ling felt as though he was struck by lightning. His eyes instantly turned red. He thought of the ancient face sect. And Yu, who grew up with him since young. He thought of how Yu helped him when he was being bullied. He thought of the Heaven Mystics Kingdom, the sacred rainforest, and all the hardships they went through together. Now, even if Yu was dead, he would not believe it. Yu, you are a little emotional now. You better go back and rest. If there is anything, I will tell you later. Chapter 2483. Let me ask you a question. Senior Xuanmei, please tell me how Sister Yu died. However, Yu did not leave. She stood there resolutely. How dare you? But at this moment, Si Xuanmei unleashed a powerful force, rushing Yu out of the drill ground and throwing her outside. Seeing this, many people shook their heads. They could understand Yu's feelings. However, Yu had to ask about the truth. She had interrupted Si Xuanmei's glorious moment. After all, Si Xuanmei was waiting for the strong cultivator's praise and was enjoying the admiring gazes of the geniuses from the 3 academies. Yu was sitting on the ground. Blood was flowing out of her little mouth. However, she did not feel it at all. Instead, she bit her lip hard. Until now, she still could not believe the truth. However, no one paid any attention to her. Everyone's eyes were on Si Xuanmei. They were waiting for the strong cultivators on the high platform to speak. You said that Yu is dead. However, at that moment, another voice drifted out. It was very cold, as if it had come from the depths of hell. Under countless gazes, a slender figure walked out step by step. The crowd stared at that gaze and could not help but gasp. That was because that was Lin Ling. Brother Ling. Yu gritted her teeth and looked at Lin Ling. She knew that Lin Ling must be sadder than her at that moment. How dare you? Since when is it your turn to speak? Instantly, the crowd shouted angrily. Now, even the second-generation rising stars were not qualified to speak. Lin Ling had just become the third-generation rising star. How could he be qualified to speak? Coward, get lost. Someone walked out. It was Prince Mo Yen. Previously, he wanted to defeat Lin Ling. However, Lin Ling refused to fight, which made him extremely unhappy. Now, Lin Ling had walked out again. He was asking for death. Get lost. However, just as Prince Mo Yen walked out, Lin Ling shouted coldly. His voice was very cold. It was so cold that it penetrated one's heart. The third and last generations of the three great academies suddenly felt a chill in their hearts at this moment. They didn't understand why they were afraid, but the current Lin Ling's aura was too terrifying. He actually told Prince Mo Yen to scram. Trash, you didn't dare to face Prince Mo Yen before. Kill him. Shameless boasting. But soon, the surrounding geniuses began to shout angrily. Although they were intimidated by Lin Ling's aura, after they calmed down, they discovered that Lin Ling was only a third-generation genius. Look at my eyes. Prince Mo Yen was immediately enraged. Lin Ling wanted him to scram. A coward who didn't dare to fight with him actually told him to scram. What a joke. The sound of 10,000 devils quietly spread out. Prince Mo Yan's eyes became sharp. He had obviously made his move. Sword. However, in the face of Prince Mo Yan's attack, Lin Ling's eyes grew even colder. His heart was cold. He refused to believe that Yue was dead. He had to get to the bottom of this. As for the rules and the surrounding experts, they had nothing to do with him. Die. A sword appeared in Lin Ling's hand, and he slashed down viciously. Rumble. All the devil's words were cut off. One sword to break all. A sword mark appeared on Prince Mo Yan's neck. He pointed at Lin Ling without saying a word and finally fell on his back. Of course, there was only one voice in his mind. Lin Ling was so strong. He thought that Lin Ling didn't dare to fight him and was definitely weaker than him. But he was obviously wrong. Prince. At this moment, an angry voice immediately rang out. A white king elephant descended and landed on the ground, causing the earth to tremble. Obviously, someone had attacked Lin Ling out of anger. And this person's strength was even more terrifying. He was the third-generation genius of Tsangling Academy. The White King has made his move. Lin Ling is dead for sure. Lin Ling is too arrogant. The crowd discussed fervently, especially the Resplendent Academy's Sword Tyrant and young Master Dragon Scale. Their eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Not long ago in the Dandelion Hall, Lin Ling had stolen all the limelight from them. They wanted to use this opportunity to defeat Lin Ling, but Lin Ling had refused to fight, leaving them helpless. And now, when they wanted to fight, the White King had stepped forward. The latter was stronger than them, so they believed that Lin Ling would stop here. Die. However, they were overthinking it. At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes were red as he slashed out with his sword. The sword revealed its sharpness. In the beginning, Lin Ling disdained to fight because he had no interest in being the number one genius of the third generation. And now, he still had no interest, but these people actually came to stop him. Did they think that he, Lin Ling, was a pushover? Lin Ling only wanted to know everything about Yue. He had no time to play with them. Boom! Under countless gazes, the huge White King was split in two. There was nothing that the sword could not cut. The third strongest genius of the third generation of the Tsangling Academy couldn't even block a single sword. Shock. At this moment, everyone was shocked. No one expected Lin Ling to be so strong. And with such strength, Lin Ling had refused to fight. All of this was undoubtedly a huge irony to everyone. Tianshu a monarch, fight. You previously obtained the second place among the third generation of the 3 academies. Someone stared at a young man and said with great anticipation. The young man's strength was extremely terrifying. He had previously been recognized as the second strongest genius among the third generation. It should be enough for him to suppress Lin Ling. Many people looked at the young man, but his expression was extremely solemn. He seemed to be hesitating about something, but finally took a step forward. Whoever dares to stop me will die. However, at this moment, Lin Ling's cold voice drifted out like the command of the Grim Reaper. Plop. Tianxue Monarch's pupils trembled. I'm not fighting. He quickly retreated, causing the crowd to fall silent. He actually didn't dare to fight the second strongest genius of the third generation just because of Lin Ling's words. Silence. The entire drill ground was silent at this moment. People could only watch as Lin Ling walked towards the center of the drill ground. Even the top powers on the high platform were extremely surprised. Previously, they didn't say anything because they knew that someone would stop Lin Ling. However, no one expected that among the third generation, no one could stop Lin Ling. Even Tianxue Monarch didn't dare to stop him. However, no one knew that Tianxue Monarch knew Lin Ling previously. In the Rising Sun boundary, Lin Ling had killed Long Potian and he had witnessed it with his own eyes. Therefore, he didn't dare to fight because he knew that the blue-robed young man wasn't afraid of Tian Ta. Back then, with so many top powers around, he had also killed Long Potian. It would probably be the same today. You said that is dead. Then can I ask you a question? At this moment, Lin Ling stopped in his tracks. His long robes fluttered loudly in the wind. He had walked out to ask a question, and that question had to be answered by Si Xuanmei herself. At this moment, Si Xuanmei's expression was very calm. She wasn't surprised by Lin Ling's strength. After all, he was only a third-generation genius and she didn't think highly of him. You are a third-generation genius, right? In order to ask me a question, you actually defeated so many third-generation geniuses. Your perseverance is commendable. I'll answer your question. Of course, if it's related to love, you'd better not ask. I don't have such thoughts for the time being. Furthermore, you don't have the right to pursue me. Si Xuanmei said indifferently. She thought that Lin Ling wanted to pursue her. Of course, with the strength and beauty that she had displayed so far, it wasn't rare for a third-generation genius to pursue her. Chapter 2484. How can you talk about martial arts if you are afraid of everything? I just want to ask you, why do you have Yuer's talent? Ignoring Si Xuanmei's self-righteousness, Lin Ling said word by word. Previously, Si Xuanmei was able to break through Black Prison's 18 levels of hell by combining her soul force with ice and snow. This ability was unique to Yuer. This was also the reason why Lin Ling came out. However, this sentence caused the cold Si Xuanmei to panic for the first time. She didn't expect Lin Ling to see through this point. Of course, her face was still cold as she said, "What does it have to do with you?" That's right, what does it have to do with you? How dare he ask senior sister? The geniuses in the surroundings were also in disbelief. Lin Ling came out and defeated several third generations just to ask this question. Moreover, Lin Ling was too overbearing. He wanted to ask a question and others had to answer it. However, Lin Ling's next sentence made everyone shut their mouths. Because Yuer is my woman, do I have the qualifications to ask? This answer was without a doubt absolutely qualified. After all, if it was anyone else, they would also want to ask about the disappearance of their loved ones. Of course, many people didn't have the courage like Lin Ling to come out and ask in the drill ground where experts were as numerous as clouds. Therefore, some of the girls around the drill ground were moved. If they were the ones who went missing, would their men go against the world just to find them? The answer was obviously no. Fine, I admit your relationship with senior sister However, do I have to answer you when you ask me? Why don't you take a look at your own status? After Si Xuanmei recovered from her shock, she immediately let out a cold voice. Is Resplendent Academy so unruly? A junior brother asks a senior sister and she has to answer. At this time, an indifferent voice sounded in the sky. Everyone looked over and saw that it was Immortal Plum Sword of the Qingzhou Sword Immortal. Si Xuanmei was her disciple. That may be the case, but his family is missing, and we don't know if they're dead or alive. So, his actions are understandable. However, someone immediately retorted. It was Falling Flowers Flowing Water Sword's master, Sky Water Sword. Humph. The Immortal Plum Sword snorted. She did not expect the Sky Water Sword to speak up for that junior. Rules are rules. He can't even be considered a second generation, yet he dared to question a second generation rookie. In my opinion, trash like him should be killed. On the high platform, a cold laugh could be heard. It was the Sovereign Marquis. This person was a marquis of a region, in charge of 10,000 realms. With a single move of his brows, tens of billions of people would die. In his eyes, there were only two types of people. One was useful, and the other was useless. Useless people were dispensable. Even if they died, it was no big deal. Most importantly, Si Xuanmei had sworn a blood oath to be loyal to him for the rest of her life. That was why he had nurtured Si Xuanmei to stand up for her. Although this Lin Ling can't compare to Si Xuanmei, it would be too wasteful to kill him with a single sentence. Lin Ling is a rare genius after all. If he dies, it would be a loss for the great Azure God dynasty. So, in my opinion, let Si Xuanmei talk about Anuer's whereabouts. After she says it, this matter will be over. However, there was also someone who spoke up for Lin Ling. It was Lord Eighth. Humph, is he a genius? He's just mediocre. There was a cold light in the Sovereign Marquis' eyes. Lord Eighth's words seemed to be casual, but his purpose was obvious. He was helping Lin Ling. He did not expect that a mere Lin Ling would make Lord Eighth speak up for him. However, someone else spoke up. It was Gong Tiangon from the Resplendent Academy. His words were calm, but it was also mixed with the intention of helping Lin Ling. This caused the eyes of the experts on the high platform to flicker. Si Xuanmei was from the Resplendent Academy, and so was Lin Ling. However, the vice principal was actually speaking up for Lin Ling. This was very surprising. Could it be that compared to Si Xuanmei, Lin Ling was more worthy of attention? That didn't seem possible. The battle on the Great Azure God Dynasty's drill ground is a battle to test the strength of the younger generation. Nothing can be accomplished without rules. Although Lin Ling is eager to ask, he has indeed violated the rules. So, on account of his strength, let him leave. The Grand Council, who had been silent all this time, also spoke up at this moment. He did not side with any side, but he still felt that Lin Ling had violated the rules. After all, if anyone could question the second-generation successor, then what dignity did the second-generation successor have? Hearing this, Lord Eighth hurriedly looked at Qi Yuhu because he had to give face to the Grand Council. Qi Yuhu felt helpless. He stared at Lin Ling in the drill ground and said, "Lin Ling, go back. We will give you an answer on this matter. Asking this question now is not the right time." Lord Qi Yuhu, thank you. In the drill ground, Lin Ling replied indifferently. He stared at the experts on the high platform and said, "However, I want to ask, what is the core of this battle?" His voice was calm, but it was firm. It is to test the rising geniuses of the Great Azure God Dynasty. We hope to find the most dazzling existence among the countless geniuses. Yes. Qi Yuhu did not speak, but the old Grand Council official said with dignity. In the myriad of worlds, there are countless geniuses. If you want to stand out, then you have to defeat countless opponents, face the wind, and move forward bravely. But now, everyone is advising me to give up and leave. Isn't this going against the core of this battle? If this is the case, then how can I continue on my martial path? Could this be the true core of this battle? Yes. Immediately give up when the enemy is too strong. How can you talk about martial path if you are afraid of every move? Lin Ling's voice floated out like thunder, causing all the experts on the high platform to tremble. How dare you? The Sovereign Marquis immediately shouted angrily. However, there was a faint smile on the side. You are right. How about this? We will not interfere in today's matter. The voice came from the Grand Council official, causing the Sovereign Marquis' eyes to narrow. Since the latter had spoken, it would not be good for him to interfere. He had never expected that Lin Ling would actually move the Grand Council official. At this moment, the Grand Council official was looking at Lin Ling with a faint smile. In fact, at the beginning, he had not been optimistic about Lin Ling. He had treated Lin Ling as a passerby. Although Lin Ling had defeated many third-generation experts, in his opinion, the third-generation experts were only barely worthy of his attention. However, Lin Ling's previous words had made him admire Lin Ling very much. He knew that there was a tiger in the mountain, but he still went to the tiger's mountain. This was a true cultivator of my generation. Lin Ling had a heart of martial arts that moved forward courageously. He was fearless. No matter what kind of genius you were, no matter how big the gap was between you and him, he did not have the slightest bit of fear in his heart. This kind of genius had a tenacious heart and would often achieve great things. Therefore, the Grand Council official did not stop this matter anymore. Of course, if Lin Ling died later, he would not regret it. After all, if one dared to be fearless, then one must have the mentality to bear the corresponding price. It's really a piece of rat shit that destroys a nest of soup. Chapter 2485. To force, of course, compared to her disdain and anger, the eyes of many geniuses around the drill ground flickered. In the beginning, they were very unhappy with Lin Ling because Lin Ling had won Yu's heart. But now, they discovered that this Lin Ling had a courage that was different from ordinary people. After all, Si Xuanmei was so powerful that no one dared to challenge her. Even the second-generation prodigy had to lower his head. Lin Ling knew that Si Xuanmei was so powerful, but he still dared to stand out. It was all for one question, and it would not change until death. They couldn't do that, so they admired him even more. At this moment, Si Xuanmei's expression didn't change. However, this was the first time she looked at Lin Ling. She said indifferently, although those seniors won't stop you, do you think you can get the answer you want? You will. Lin Ling's face was cold as he spat out a sentence. He knew that he had to fight for it. Otherwise, if Si Xuanmei left, it would be even harder for him to get the answers he wanted. Moreover, he guessed that whatever happened to An'Yuer was definitely related to Si Xuanmei. I, Si Xuanmei, have cultivated for 999 years. I comprehended swordsmanship at a young age and was born in a world of ice and snow. The moment I was born, I defeated countless geniuses. Since the battle of the immortal rainbow world, other than the time when I was defeated when I was young, I have never lost any battle. So, do you think you are qualified for me to speak? Perhaps you think you still have the right to ask me? Si Xuanmei said faintly. Her eyes were as calm as an ancient well. There's only one defeat in life. Hearing this, the surrounding geniuses sucked in a breath of cold air. The path of martial arts was extremely long. It was impossible to remain undefeated. For example, when it came to comprehending martial arts, even if you were very talented, you were definitely not a match for the older generation of warriors. At that time, you still had to humbly seek guidance. Perhaps in the future, you would surpass that ancient martial art practitioner, but at that time, you would obviously lose to that ancient martial art practitioner. However, this did not happen to Si Xuanmei. She's right. The immortal plum sword seemed to know that everyone was shocked. It stared at Si Xuanmei with a doting gaze. Her talent, perception, comprehension, reflexes, and so on have long surpassed mediocre people like you. You don't understand her world. Following the immortal plum sword's affirmation, the crowd was in an uproar. Could it be that Si Xuanmei was the kind of monster who could instantly comprehend the boundary origin martial arts just by looking at them? Are you done? After saying so much, isn't it just to say how lowly I am? It's a pity that your so-called invincibility is limited by your vision. What if your vision is the primal chaos of the universe? You dare say you've surpassed it? You dare to say you won't lose? You're just comparing yourself to some weaklings. However, just as the immortal plum sword finished speaking, Lin Ling calmly said, causing many people to nod their heads. Lin Ling's words made sense. For example, if Si Xuanmei were to challenge those ancient powerhouses on the high platform, would she dare to say that she would not lose? Therefore, Si Xuanmei's vision was limited. Her vision was that of the weak. Have you ever been defeated? Hearing this, Si Xuanmei's eyes narrowed as she said indifferently. I've been defeated and even died countless times. However, I'm not ashamed of it. I'm proud of it. Only then did I know my own flaws. Only then did I know that I need to work harder. Lin Ling nodded. Don't think that you're the chosen one in this world. Many people are like that. It's just that you don't know it. Don't tell me that it's you. Si Xuanmei couldn't help but laugh. What a joke. You're just a third generation. Now, let's cut the crap. If you want me to answer that question, then may I ask, what will you use to make me answer? Use my strength. Today, you'll have to answer even if you don't want to. The tyrannical song sword appeared in Lin Ling's right hand. His aura soared to the sky, causing the surrounding air to explode with popping sounds. At this moment, Lin Ling's martial arts heart was like his sword, upright and courageous. If Si Xuanmei didn't want to answer that question, then Lin Ling would force her to answer. He had to know what had happened to Anue. Arrogant, does this fellow plan on forcing Si Xuanmei to answer? Seeing this, the surrounding geniuses sucked in a breath of cold air. Using strength to pressure her. However, did Lin Ling have this strength? With just you. Si Xuanmei's sword also appeared. She waved it in the air, causing snow to fall. She wanted to see just how this newcomer would force her to answer. She was the number one rookie of the second generation. Did Lin Ling have the qualifications? Rumble, rumble, rumble. A massive amount of frost danced in the air, turning into a giant torrent that rushed towards Lin Ling. She was at the peak of the World King realm. Just her world essence alone was enough to kill Lin Ling. Clang, clang, clang. The martial field was immediately frozen. Moreover, if the power of frost was placed in a myriad of worlds, it could freeze an entire world. So cold. Many people shivered, but they stubbornly stared at the martial field. Lin Ling wouldn't have been frozen into an ice sculpture, right? Rumble, rumble, rumble. However, in the next moment, the body of a godly demon rushed out from the frost. The sword was majestic, and it actually used the ancient sword to cut through the frost. The endless frost froze Lin Ling, but many people saw that Lin Ling's body trembled, and the power of the frost shattered. A peak World King level frost actually didn't have the slightest effect on Lin Ling. The strength that this fellow erupted with is even greater than before. Everyone in the third generation had dignified complexions. From what they saw in front of them, they could determine that the number one of the third generation was Lin Ling. However, this still isn't enough to fight the second generation. Many of the second generation juniors frowned. They felt this was ironic. This was because at the start, they had been filled with disdain towards Lin Ling. But now, they discovered just how formidable Lin Ling was. No wonder you dared to ask me. But, do you think you have the qualifications to do so? Sensing Lin Ling's extraordinariness, Si Xuanmei's eyes flickered. Her figure danced along with the snowstorm. It was very beautiful, like a ribbon. But, her sword light was cold. Her talent in ice and snow was extremely sharp. It was like being in ice and snow was entering her world, her domain. This was the first-grade awakened divine body, Frost Splitter Phantom Body. Her talent isn't weak. Most importantly, her boundary is higher than mine. I must erupt with an even greater strength, otherwise I will die. At this time, Lin Ling stared ahead. He knew that Si Xuanmei was an absolutely formidable opponent. Luckily, his divinity and demon body's defensive capabilities were formidable and he had swallowed countless heavenly treasures in the past. Thus, the power of frost didn't affect him too much. Ka ka ka. Shattering the power of frost once more, Lin Ling grasped his sword and shot out. Pop. 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 His sword seemed to rush through a raging storm. With a shake of his sword, countless plum blossoms were shattered. How fierce. Before, young Master Wentian also faced this sword, but he wasn't as calm as this. He seems to be at the 6th stage of the World King realm. Looking at the carefree Lin Ling, many geniuses cried out in alarm. They discovered that the more Lin Ling fought, the stronger he became. As for young Master Wentian, he rubbed his broken arm, his face pale. Lin Ling was this strong. Clang! At almost the same time, the two swords collided. Sword tip against sword tip, a deafening sound rang out, nearly overturning the martial field. Chapter 2486. A powerhouse shaken. No one thought that Lin Ling would actually clash with Si Xuanmei's sword and cause such a mighty shockwave. And this was still a third generation. On the side of Radiant Academy, the geniuses all had wonderful complexions, especially Falling Flowers, Flowing Water and the others. They were familiar with Lin Ling, but they didn't think that Lin Ling's combat strength would be so formidable. Your talent is very strange. Your defensive ability is actually so strong. At this time, Si Xuanmei galvanized her powerful world essence. Her sword point pressed down on Lin Ling. As for Lin Ling, he drew back again and again, using his sword to resist. For a 6th-level world king to be able to fight against me, you should feel honored. But what a pity, you still don't have the qualifications to ask me questions. At the same time, Lin Ling's ancient sword froze. A formidable power of ice was transmitted through Si Xuanmei's sword. Ka ka ka. Moreover, the speed at which it froze was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it covered Lin Ling's entire body. Lin Ling, had he died? At this time, many people's eyes widened. Was he still a bit too weak? Bang! But soon, flames roared out. All around the ice sculpture, multicolored flames appeared. They were ancient and roaring, possessing the strength to incinerate all. Divine light arrived at the same time. Ka ka ka. The ice sculpture immediately shattered. The youth appeared once more, his body shrouded in divine flames. It was a startling sight. A 2nd-grade awakened divine body. Si Xuanmei frowned. Fire was able to restrain her ice. But that's it. Boom. However, her sword became even sharper. It actually caused Lin Ling's sword to bend. Lin Ling's sword was a great sword and a 9th-grade treasure at that. Even so, it was bent. This proved just how terrifying the strength was. That's not necessarily true. Boom. Sensing the strength coming from his sword, Lin Ling's pupils turned icy cold. His long hair danced in the wind and his two dantians began to fuse together. He was originally at the 6th-level World King realm, but with the other dantian at the 3rd level as well as the might of the Tyrant Song sword. His current boundary was no longer weaker than a 9th-level world king. In addition to the eruption of the space-time flames, he immediately began his counterattack. Boom! The bent tyrannical song sword suddenly rebounded, and an unprecedented power burst out, causing Si Xuanmei's expression to change drastically. How could this be? This third generation was clearly only at the 6th level of the World King realm, so how could he suddenly erupt with the strength of a 9th-level World King? Si Xuanmei had no time to think. A powerful force attacked her, and Si Xuanmei was immediately sent flying. What? The crowd was in an uproar. The eyes of the expert on the high platform trembled violently. Ashura sword formation. After sending Si Xuanmei flying, Lin Ling immediately followed up with another attack. His body floated up, and his blue robe was as mysterious as the clouds in the sky. His sword danced quickly, and the Ashura sword formation was activated by him. In the sky above, Ashura chi filled the air. 7 by 7, 49 swords appeared majestically. At this moment, Lin Ling was like the sword monarch. On the other side, Si Xuanmei was like an arrogant swordsman, but after seeing Lin Ling's sword, her pupils constricted. That sword made her feel a strong pressure. Ashura sword formation. Dandelion Temple's Emperor-level sword Dao. This is a 5th-grade world origin martial art. How could he have hidden so many cards in his hand? Si Xuanmei's indifferent complexion also revealed a look of horror. She believed herself to be a peerless genius, but now she discovered that the youth across from her was also a peerless genius. In fact, he seemed even more peerless than her. This was because the youth across from her was only at the 6th level of the World King realm. Second absolute snow plum blossom, gradually understanding the charm of the plum blossom, brightening the bones in winter. Growing in the snow, it will not disappoint the cold fragrance. The 79 swords were already in sight. Si Xuanmei didn't hesitate. Thus, she erupted with a formidable sword Dao martial art. In the air, her figure began to dance. Sword after sword danced in the air, a giant ice plum blossom was constantly carved out by her. The plum blossom bloomed with a terrifying ice-cold intent. Specks of light fell upon the ground, and those weaker geniuses were immediately frozen into ice sculptures. High 3rd-grade sword Dao martial art, second absolute snow plum blossom sword. Although the Emperor-level sword Dao Lin Ling used is a 5th-grade one, not everyone can successfully use it. And Si Xuanmei's foundation is solid. She knows that 3rd grade is the most suitable for the World King realm. Looking at those giant plum blossoms, the powerhouses on the high platform all spoke. In martial arts, the stronger the better, the better. It was the most suitable for oneself. Thus, in the collision of these two great sword Daos, they believed that Si Xuanmei's skill was superior. But even so, we have underestimated him. However, Lord 8 still praised. He never expected that after the battle in the market square, Lin Ling's strength had increased so much. I estimate that Si Xuanmei only used 50% of her strength before, but Lin Ling has already used his full strength. The reason why Si Xuanmei is in a sorry state is because she underestimated Lin Ling's strength. That's all. The Sovereign Marquis wasn't worried about Si Xuanmei and said lightly. Under countless gazes, the two great Daos collided crazily. On one side, there were 49 swords. Each sword was like an azura. On the other side, there was a giant snow plum blossom. Rumble. A deafening sound rang out. The two great sword Daos collided and then cut through everything. The power of ice was extremely powerful. It caused the snow plum blossom to spiral continuously. Moreover, each petal shot out a giant ice pillar as if it wanted to freeze the azura sword. Rumble. This collision of sword Daos lasted for an incense stick's time. The deafening sound undoubtedly caused the faces of the geniuses to turn pale. At this point, they had no choice but to submit to Lin Ling. This was because even the dead Black Prison didn't make Si Xuanmei use such an ultimate skill. You are a person who has been defeated time and time again. You don't know the shame of defeat. Today, I will make you lose again. Si Xuanmei activated her realm essence and said coldly. In fact, she was extremely surprised. She didn't expect that the strongest opponent in this battle was the mysterious young man. Lose. At the same time, she shouted coldly. The snow plum blossom exploded with chaotic energy, freezing everything. At this moment, the ground was sealed in ice. It was terrifying. At this point, the intensity of the battle had exceeded everyone's imagination. You are a genius who has only lost once. You are the one who doesn't know the shame of defeat. Your sword is too arrogant. It is like a plum blossom in the snow. However, a true sword doesn't need to be upright to be perfect. It needs to be unyielding. In the face of Si Xuanmei's greater power, Lin Ling's expression became more serious. The 49 Azura swords were like a sword array, crazily slashing out. The ultimate sword Dao, the true realm of Dao, erupted at this moment. Ka ka ka. The giant snow plum blossom gradually melted as if it had met with tofu. What? His understanding of sword Daos has reached such a level. Si Xuanmei's ultimate sword Dao has reached the half-step battle of Dao realm. His ultimate sword Dao has probably reached the true realm of Dao. Looking at the snow plum blossom being destroyed, the expressions of the experts on the high platform became interesting. Chapter 2487. Thousand-star matchless body clang. 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 The Azura swords were unstoppable as they danced in the air. It was as if numerous Azura swords were flying through the air, creating a spectacular scene. The huge plum blossom seemed to have reached its limit and could not stop the destruction of the Shura sword formation. Extreme state. At this moment, Si Xuanmei said coldly. Her eyes were filled with ruthlessness, anger, and even murderous intent. Lin Ling, step by step, forced her to tell him and Er's whereabouts. She was the #1 rising star of the second generation. How could she be forced by a junior? How could she take this lying down? Invisible and colorless soul power shot out along with the power of ice. It was very fast. It was a soul power attack that could not be detected. Rumble. In the next moment, the wind and waves exploded, causing chaos in the sky. All kinds of chaotic auras swept across the sky and earth. Many people stood there numbly as they stared at the storm in the sky. Even their breathing had quickened a little. What was the result? They were looking forward to it and nervous. They wanted to know who was the winner of the battle in the Great Azure God Dynasty's drill ground. Lin Ling should be defeated this time. Among the rising stars of the second generation, an uncertain voice sounded. His voice was filled with respect. The rising stars of the second generation who were as dazzling as stars were now filled with admiration. If they were given another chance, they might not even have the confidence to look at Lin Ling. Maybe both sides suffered great losses. After all, Lin Ling's Shura sword formation is really powerful. Someone else said. He was obviously impressed by Lin Ling's strength. I won. Just as everyone was guessing, a cold voice suddenly sounded. A lady in white floated in the sky like a lonely plum blossom, but her eyes were filled with confidence. She was Si Xuanmei. She actually said that she had won. Could it be that she had absolute confidence in her previous move? Xuanmei won. After a moment, Immortal Plum Sword, one of the 10 great sword immortals of the Qing prefecture, also spoke. She knew that although her disciple appeared to be proud and aloof, she was not arrogant. Therefore, since she had admitted that she had won, she had definitely won. Lemeter, could it be the mysterious technique that defeated Black Prison? That technique is impossible to defend against. It's a soul power attack. It seems like Si Xuanmei has indeed won. This battle was so intense. I thought that the battle on the drill ground was over, but who knew that after Lin Ling came out, all the previous battles were child's play. The crowd also began to discuss animatedly as they recalled the intense battle from before. Yu Yu, Xian Yuan Gu, and the others' eyes were filled with worry. Cough cough. However, at that moment, a coughing sound came from the sky. Many people hurriedly looked up and saw that there were bloodstains on Si Xuanmei's snow-white robe. Moreover, she was coughing up blood. She was injured. The Ashura sword formation from before had clearly caused her to suffer heavy injuries. Boom! Everyone was moved when they saw this scene. Previously, Si Xuanmei, who had made all the second-generation talents bow their heads, was actually injured by Lin Ling. Lin Ling, although defeated, was still honorable. However, was Lin Ling really defeated? And Yuer, where is she? Why did you obtain her talent? At that moment, a voice came from the sky. From the chaotic spiritual energy, a blue-robed youth walked out indifferently. It was Lin Ling. He did not die. He seemed to have dodged the soul power attack from before. How is this possible? The pride on Si Xuanmei's face instantly disappeared. At that moment, an expression of disbelief appeared on her face. Soul power, he also has soul power. The experts on the high platform shouted one by one. Previously, Si Xuanmei's soul power was very strong and could not be defended against. It could freeze one's soul. Ordinary people could not avoid it and could only resist it with their soul power. However, Lin Ling seemed to be safe and sound. This meant that Lin Ling's soul power was extremely strong. Only in this way would he not have suffered any injuries. This Lin Ling was truly a monster among monsters. Even Qi Yuhu could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. It seemed that the martial god battalion had a marshal with endless potential. Because of Lin Ling's reappearance, the entire drill ground was in an uproar. Especially when many people saw that Si Xuanmei was injured and Lin Ling was unharmed, they even had a terrifying thought. Could it be that Lin Ling was the #1 second-generation talent? This thought was very crazy. After all, not long ago, Lin Ling had just become a third-generation talent. Speak! Speak! At that moment, Lin Ling, who was in the sky, did not care about the shock in everyone's hearts. He coldly spat out a word. No one has ever forced me to answer a question. It was so in the past, and it is still so now. Fight! Si Xuanmei's complexion was more dignified than anyone else's. This was because only she knew just how terrifying Lin Ling was. Glorious, I have to say that you are truly glorious. With your mere 6th-level World King realm cultivation, you have actually forced me to this degree. Even amongst the second-generation talents, there aren't many that can do this. Sigh. She let out a light breath, her dignified expression becoming increasingly solemn. She knew that she had to use her trump card, otherwise there was no way she could win. But let me tell you, if you want to know the whereabouts of an Yuer, that will never happen. Sigh. Bang! As she spoke her final words, the skies instantly darkened. From the chaos of the universe, beams of light shot down. These were the light of stars. At the same time, a terrifying matter occurred. Countless divine lights began to descend from the skies. Rumble, rumble, rumble. In the skies, countless stars began to appear. And beneath these stars, Si Xuanmei, her clothes whiter than snow, floated there like a goddess. Her eyes were closed and a divine aura spread out from her. In this instant, many geniuses felt a desire to prostrate themselves in worship. Xuanmei, I thought that you would only use this hidden talent when facing the strongest second generation, but I never thought that you would actually use it when facing a third generation. But since you have used it, then it is up to you to decide everything. Your undefeated legend cannot be broken. Fifth grade myriad star unrivaled physique. In the distance, Immortal Plum soared lightly said, her words shocking the world. A fifth grade awakened divine body. In the ancient era, the innate supernatural ability of the unrivaled king. On the high platform, powerhouses stood up one after another. The unrivaled king was an extremely famous powerhouse of the martial god world in the past. He had once moved the myriad worlds. With a flip of his hand, he seized the moon and with a forehand, he plucked the stars. His strength was extremely terrifying. But in the ancient era, for some unknown reason, he had perished and his talent had vanished from the chaos of the universe. And today, everyone finally knew just who had taken away that terrifying talent. Lin Ling, what do you think now? In the skies, Si Xuanmei finally opened her eyes and said indifferently. Her eyes had turned into two mysterious stars. Following her voice, the geniuses below felt their mouths go dry, as if something was about to be extracted from their bodies. Then, their pupils constricted. Because that was talent. Could it be that the most terrifying thing about the myriad star unrivaled physique was that it could absorb the talent of thousands of martial artists? One should know that martial artists could absorb their opponent's cultivation, realm essence, and so on. But absorbing talent? This was simply unprecedented. Chapter 2488. A shocking change, what heaven-defying talent. At this moment, Lin Ling's eyes were fixed on the other party, and his heart grew heavier. Lin Ling also knew that Si Xuanmei had not awakened the myriad star unparalleled physique to its limit. It was said that those who had awakened it to its limit would be ranked in the top 10 among the astral physiques. They would be able to absorb 10,000 worlds into their body. It was extremely terrifying. However, even if he hadn't awakened to the limit, Lin Ling could still feel the intense pressure. Very strong. Lin Ling opened his mouth. He spoke magnanimously and without any imposing words. However, no one laughed at him, because up until now, other than Lin Ling who was qualified to battle Si Xuanmei, the others were all trash who were not qualified. Then what else do you have to say? Si Xuanmei was not surprised by Lin Ling's evaluation. Where is my senior sister, Anuer? However, when she thought that Lin Ling would start to feel fear or even regret, Lin Ling was still as firm as ever. This guy. Many people couldn't help but exclaim. Even at this time, Lin Ling was still so determined. He wouldn't give up until all hope was gone. What a loyal man. The hearts of the women surged. Even if he died, did Lin Ling still want to know Anuer's whereabouts? You really don't know how to write the word death. Forget it, forget it. You once said that you have lost countless battles. Today, I will let you lose again and make it unforgettable. Although they were opponents, Si Xuanmei couldn't help but admire Lin Ling's willpower. She shook her head and 10,000 stars began to shine around her. Her innate talent could restrain a large number of strong cultivators. If someone weaker than her wanted to defeat her, unless they had an extremely rare innate talent, she was invincible. Of course, if one's cultivation level was higher than hers, and their talent and martial arts weren't weak, then they could still defeat her. But such a genius, at least there wasn't one here. Resplendent starry skies, heed my call, submit to fate. Si Xuanmei slowly stretched out her hand. Her movements were very slow, as if she was afraid of startling the 10,000 stars in the sky. Then, she lightly pointed out with her finger. She did not use any martial arts, but relied on her talent to suppress Lin Ling. Rumble. As if summoned by her, the sky became oppressive, and then countless stars shot down. What was terrifying was that those stars were all innate talents. There was lightning, fire, wind, ghost, demon, and kill. How terrifying. She alone had gathered all the talents that countless people could only dream of. Lin Ling, be careful. Meanwhile, when she saw those meteors smash down, Yu couldn't help but shout out. She already knew that her senior sister had this type of powerful trump card. It was to the extent where even exceptional talents had died under this trump card. I can see Yu's talent. However, Lin Ling raised his head and looked angrily at the sky. Among those meteors, he saw Yu's talent. A guess suddenly appeared in his mind. The myriad star unparalleled body needed to swallow a massive amount of talent. Thus, in a place where there was no one around, Si Xuanmei must have attacked Yu in order to swallow her talent. Senior apprentice sister Yu, I believe that you won't die. I will find you. Under countless gazes, Lin Ling clenched his teeth and roared out. Then, he didn't retreat. Instead, he shot towards the meteors in the sky. He's crazy. What is he trying to do? He wants to take back Yu's talent. This fellow is truly infatuated. Yu might already be dead. Seeing Lin Ling's actions, many people cried out in alarm. Lin Ling's infatuation was simply lamentable. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The meteors falling from the sky were extremely terrifying. They could easily destroy a World King realm powerhouse. And these meteors were all hurtling towards Lin Ling. This fellow is truly devoted. In order to take back that talent, he wants to take it back. On the high platform, the Grand Council Minister muttered to himself as he stared at the fearless youth. This was because he remembered that on his road of martial arts, he had once encountered a woman. That woman had moved his heart, but unfortunately, she had perished in the end. As for him, he hadn't even been able to obtain the treasures she left behind. At that time, countless powerhouses had appeared and he could only endure the humiliation and hide in a corner. This was the greatest regret of his life. Thinking back, if he had any backbone at that time, he would have already left behind that woman's final memories without fear of death. But in the end, he didn't have any backbone. But Lin Ling did. Rumble, rumble, rumble. The air exploded and ripples appeared in the void. Countless meteors hurtled towards Lin Ling, causing the earth to shake. Even Second Ring City seemed to shake. Countless powerhouses appeared in the distant skies. As they saw this heaven-shaking scene, their complexions were incomparably dignified. These monstrous geniuses of the three great academies had terrifying combat strength. Lin Ling. My lord. Xian Yuangu and the others from Resplendent Academy shouted loudly. The terrifying power in the sky was something they had witnessed with their own eyes. They even thought that the universe had exploded. Under such power, could Lin Ling still be alive? In fact, it wasn't just them. Others also believed that Lin Ling was already dead. This battle was very intense. Lin Ling had risen like a comet, but unfortunately, he had been defeated by Si Xuanmei in the end. Monstrous geniuses against monstrous geniuses. The winner was king, and the loser was a bandit. Sigh. Qi Yuhu also let out a soft sigh. Was there no one left in the martial god battalion? Wait, this matter isn't over yet. Don't jump to conclusions too early. However, at this moment, Lord Eighth said solemnly. Qi Yuhu's eyes narrowed and his spirit shook. Lin Ling had already created countless miracles since the start of the battle. Could another miracle appear? In fact, a miracle had indeed appeared. Bang! Multicolored flames erupted from the falling meteors. A massive evil flame god descended, its raging strength causing the surrounding meteors to fly backwards. This evil flame god's hair was also multicolored, reaching all the way to the ground. His body was surrounded by flames and his eyes were icy cold, flashing with a mysterious light from time to time. His left eye flashed with endless Tao symbols. In his right eye, there was an ancient divine tablet. Of course, this kind of shocking eyes quickly disappeared. This evil flame god was Lin Ling. And what was most terrifying was that everyone could feel that Lin Ling's aura had crazily risen. Even a peak World King Realm powerhouse was scared witless at this moment. This was because they could feel that Lin Ling's aura had already surpassed the World King Realm. Was this a 6th level World King 3rd Generation Junior? If this was the case, then this 3rd Generation Junior had given them far too many surprises. I believe you haven't died. At this time, the evil flame god youth faintly said. He held a meteor in his left hand. This was actually Yuer's innate talent. Blood dripped from the corners of his mouth, but he didn't seem to notice it at all. It was clear that in order to take back this innate talent, he had forcefully withstood the attacks of countless meteors. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.